Chapter 641, Demon Mist Forest. Ah! A painful scream reached Su Zimo's ears just as he stepped into the forest. Turning his head, he saw a corpse hanging from a tree branch not far away, obscured by the dense forest. Judging by the clothes, it was a disciple from Scenery Heaven Mountain. The tree branch had pierced through his back and chest, ripping his heart out. Then, the tree actually grew eyes and a mouth. It tossed the heart into its mouth and began eating, grinning sinisterly at Su Zimo. Provoking me? Su Zimo raised an eyebrow slightly. With a single palm strike, the tree didn't even have time to react before it was annihilated. Su Zimo noticed something interesting. He had only taken a few steps into the forest, but now he couldn't even find the way out. It was as if the forest itself was shifting and changing constantly. Meanwhile, deeper in the Demon Mist Forest, Xue Qingming led a group of disciples from Grand Heaven Mountain, desperately fleeing. "Senior brother Xue, what should we do?" a disciple asked anxiously beside him. "This forest is likely not that simple. Running around without any pattern won't get us far. It's all the fault of those Jade Heaven Mountain people. They set us up," another disciple said with a cold snort. "Fellow disciples from the same sect, and they still tried to send us to our deaths. Don't you know the rules? Life or death doesn't matter," Xue Qingming said calmly. "If you encounter danger, don't hesitate. Crush the spatial talisman immediately." They kept fleeing while staying on high alert, eyes darting in all directions. Suddenly, a tree branch lashed at them from not far away. Before they could dodge, countless tree branches rose from beneath their feet, surrounding them tightly. "What kind of hellish place is this?" a disciple cursed. 4 or 5 disciples brandished their swords, slashing at the branches. But the branches seemed to regenerate, endless and relentless. Not only that, the surrounding mist grew even thicker. It became impossible to see clearly, which made the attacks from the branches even more erratic and dangerous. "If this continues, we'll all be trapped to death in here," a disciple said anxiously. "What else can we do?" "This is all we've got," Xue Qingming replied. As the branches multiplied, it became harder and harder to advance. After about 10 minutes, the group found themselves completely surrounded by a wall of dense branches, entwined and layered, inside and out. What was worse, thorns began to sprout on the branches. One disciple was grazed by a thorn and instantly melted into a puddle of thick fluid. "Crush the talismans," Xue Qingming said helplessly. "We waited 10 years for the 9 Heavens Grand Gathering, and it ends like this?" a disciple said bitterly. "Then keep resisting if you want to die," Xue Qingming said coldly. "Only by staying alive do you have unlimited hope." "Oh? Things are lively over here." A light laugh suddenly broke the tense atmosphere. A flash of sword light, formless and sharp, sliced through the prison of branches into fragments. Everyone looked up in surprise and saw Su Zimo standing to the side, watching with interest. "Senior brother Lin." "Lin Xiu?" a disciple said in shock. "You're not leaving? Want to get trapped again?" Su Zimo asked. "Oh, right." For disciples snapped back to their senses and quickly escaped through the opening. Just now, Xue Qingming looked at Su Zimo with a complicated expression. That slash just now, its power, he knew he couldn't do that himself. "Something to say?" Su Zimo asked indifferently. "No, nothing." Xue Qingming lowered his head, his expression unreadable, and shook it slightly. "Senior brother Lin, you've got to stand up for us," a disciple nearby said, nearly in tears. "Stand up for what? You were stupid, and now you blame someone else," Su Zimo retorted. That disciple was left speechless. "Have you seen Shun Lang from Jade Heaven Mountain?" Su Zimo asked. "You mean Jade Heaven's first blade?" a disciple replied. "We saw him. He was the one who led us into this demon mist forest." "Take me to him," Su Zimo said. "He went north just now. But we have to get out of this forest first," Xue Qingming said. "That's simple." Su Zimo raised his hand, and a ball of flame formed in his palm. "Wildfire," he called out softly. Instantly, the flames surged into a sea of fire, spreading out and igniting the entire forest. Crackling sounds echoed all around as the fire blazed a path ahead. The surrounding trees came to life, extending branches to try to extinguish the flames. But this was no ordinary fire. Anything it touched was instantly incinerated. I know you can hear me. Open a path, and I'll extinguish the flames. If not, I don't mind burning this forest down, Suzumo said calmly. Moments after his words fell, the giant trees in the forest began to move. A path opened up instantly, and even the mist around them was dispersed. This? The others stared in shock at the scene. Senior brother Lin, earlier how did you dash? A disciple stared at Suzumo in a daze. How did I get so strong? Suzumo smiled. No, I mean how were you hiding it so well? The disciple rephrased awkwardly. Suzumo shook his head slightly. He couldn't very well tell them that his former self really had been useless. The misty forest continued shifting, but after walking a short distance, they found the exit. Looking back, the forest faded into the mist, disappearing from view. Which direction? Suzumo asked calmly. North. Xue Qingming pointed ahead. But he's not alone. There are several Jade Heaven Mountain disciples with him. No problem. Suzumo shook his head and walked north. Atop Dao Mountain. Watching this unfold, many frowned. Mountain Master Lin, your son sure is hiding deep. Wang Yuntian commented. Cho'er? Lin Beixing frowned slightly, suddenly recalling what Suzumo had said earlier. How he had killed Yang Cheng, how he had fought Lin Feng, the imperial son. He spoke so easily, but where had that confidence come from? Countless thoughts raced through Lin Beixing's mind. He found himself more and more unable to see through this son of his. So it really was him. Mu Chang'e at the front frowned as well. In his heart, he confirmed that Suzumo was the one who had killed the Green Flood Dragon. He had only suspected before, after all, Suzumo was still so young. Chapter 642 Had enough fun? The reason no one dared to confirm it earlier was because the Green Flood Dragon had already reached the Fusion Heaven realm, while Suzumo was still so young. To reach the Fusion Heaven realm at that age, not even the holy son of the Empyrean sect could do that. Probably only the godchild of the Eternal God sect could. Mountain Lord Lin, may I ask what realm your son is currently in? Mu Chang'e asked with a smile. That? I don't know either. Lin Beixing hesitated briefly before replying. I usually don't interfere with his cultivation. He's just hiding his strength. Do you really think he can compare to the imperial sons of our 9 mountains? Chi Hai, the master of scenery Heaven Mountain, laughed dismissively. He's just putting on a show. Don't underestimate others, Mountain Lord Qi. I think he's quite impressive, Mu Chang'e said with a smile. Elder Mu, it's not that I look down on him, but if he runs into year, he'll learn what a true prodigy is, Chi Hai said proudly. Let's just keep watching, said Mu Chang'e. After leaving the Demon Mist Forest, Xue Qingming and the others led Suzumo northward. After sprinting for about half an hour, they spotted a few figures strolling ahead in the distance. Senior brother Shenlang, how should we look for the talismans? A disciple asked. What's the rush? Some things become harder to find the more you look. Aside from the imperial sons of the 9 mountains, we can just steal the talismans from anyone else, Shenlang replied calmly. He wore a yellow robe with a curved blade hanging at his waist, and the hair on his forehead swayed gently in the breeze. Senior brother, looks like someone's coming after us, one of the disciples said, noticing Suzumo's group approaching. Shenlang frowned slightly as he looked at the group behind them. When he saw Suzumo, a smirk formed on his lips. Guess it's true that enemies are bound to cross paths. Senior brother Shen, looks like it's Xue Qingming and the others. We tricked them earlier. Think they're here for payback? Another disciple laughed. Let them try. The disciples of Grand Heaven Mountain are all just trash. A third disciple chimed in. As Suzumo and his group got closer, a Jade Heaven Mountain disciple raised an eyebrow and stepped forward with a mocking smile. Yo, if it isn't the Grand Heaven Mountain crew. Still alive? Huh. Shen Lang, you tricked us into the Demon Mist Forest. How do you plan to settle that score? Xue Qingming glared at him. How do you want to settle it? Shen Lang laughed and drew the curved blade from his waist. Clang. Blade intent swirled around him, surging in all directions. Do you want to die? Su Zimo looked at Shen Lang and said calmly. D? From you. Shen Lang snorted. We haven't even settled the matter with Qinger yet. Don't worry, you'll die. And when I leave these ruins, I'll make sure she joins you soon. Su Zimo replied coolly. Arrogant fool, Shen Lang snapped. Spirit force burst from him, and blade aura gathered around his curved blade as he slashed toward Su Zimo. You can sleep forever in this place. As the blade aura fell, Jade Heaven Mountain's disciples looked on with glee. Meanwhile, Xue Qingming and the others had grave expressions. It was clear that Shen Lang wasn't holding back. This strike was meant to kill Su Zimo outright. He knew that if he didn't kill him in one strike, Su Zimo could just use his spatial talisman to escape. As the blade descended, Su Zimo didn't dodge. He let the blade strike him. Clang! Instead of a gory mess, the curved blade shattered like it had struck steel. What dash? Shen Lang stared in shock at the broken hilt in his hand, completely stunned. Is it fun? Su Zimo asked calmly. How did you dash? Shen Lang quickly came to his senses and leapt backward. Looks like you trained your body, knowing you're trash and can't cultivate spirit force. You really think that? Su Zimo chuckled. Quit the act. Shen Lang snorted and tossed aside the broken hilt. His blade intent surged wildly, merging with spiritual energy and manifesting in the air. Condensed into a small, blood-red curved blade. It radiated bloodlust, as if forged in a sea of hellish carnage. That's Jade Heaven Mountain's signature technique, Azura Blade, Xue Qingming said, narrowing his eyes. Shen Lang really lives up to the name Jade Heaven's first blade. To master the Azura Blade at his age is no small feat. Isn't that dangerous for senior brother Lin? A disciple asked worriedly. Keep watching. I can't see through senior brother Lin. Xue Qingming shook his head calmly. The Azura Blade hovered above Su Zimo, forming a vortex of spirit force, pulling in the surrounding aura like a storm. This blade attacks more than just the body. It targets the soul. How will you block it? Shen Lang shouted, hurling the Azura Blade forward. Do I even need to block it? Su Zimo looked up slightly and said with calm detachment. As the curved blade, full of rage and bloodlust, flew toward him, Su Zimo slowly raised his right hand and gently caught the blade between his middle and index fingers. The Azura Blade trembled violently, trying to tear through his fingers with its killing intent. Kids fighting had enough fun yet? Su Zimo said with a light laugh. With a flick of his hand, he threw the Azura Blade back at Shen Lang. Shen Lang's face turned pale. He instantly pulled out his spatial talisman and crushed it. A wave of spatial energy wrapped around him, trying to remove him from the ruins. You'll pay for this, Lin Qiu. This isn't over, he screamed venomously. Think you can escape? Su Zimo waved both hands, and the surrounding space instantly froze. With the space locked, the power enveloping Shen Lang began to dissipate. What's happening? Shen Lang panicked, watching as the Azura Blade closed in. At that moment, it wasn't just Shen Lang. Outside the ruins, the 9 mountain lords were also stunned. What's going on? Shen Lang crushed the spatial talisman. Wang Yuntian shouted. Did the talisman fail? Since they could only observe through an image, they couldn't see everything clearly. What kind of trick is this brat pulling? Elder Qin snorted. If he survives, we'll bring him back and ask him directly. Mu Changa said nothing, but he alone knew there was nothing wrong with the talisman. The only explanation was that something had interfered with the space around Shen Lang. Oh! The Azura Blade flew fast, like a flash of lightning, slicing straight toward Shen Lang. Chapter 643, Black Tortoise. The curved blade pierced straight through Shen Lang's chest. A glaring wound appeared. The Azura Blade had a special property. Once it pierced through the chest, the wound could not be healed no matter what. Blood gushed out continuously, dyeing half of Shen Lang's body red. He half-kneeled on the ground, pupils dilated, staring at Su Zimo. Su Zimo walked step by step up to him. "Why?" Shen Lang choked out with blood in his mouth. "Don't worry, Qinger will be joining you soon," Su Zimo smiled. As Shen Lang's body slowly collapsed, the disciples from Scenery Heaven Mountain behind him panicked. You killed senior brother Shen," one of the disciples said in a daze. "Run. Go find senior brother Yen and make him avenge this," another disciple shouted. All of them scattered and fled in different directions. Su Zimo frowned slightly. Clapping his hands together, a mighty force descended from the sky. It suppressed all the fleeing disciples. They felt an immense pressure bearing down on them, and their steps grew slower and slower. In the end, it was as if a mountain had crushed down on their backs. Their bodies exploded on the spot. A rain of blood fell around them. The disciples of Grand Heaven Mountain stared blankly at the scene. "Have any of you seen Lin Feng?" Su Zimo turned and asked. "No, we haven't." Xue Qingming shook his head. "Everyone was scattered when we landed in the ruins. We don't know where anyone is. We just happened to run into each other by luck." Su Zimo nodded slightly. He didn't say anything else and walked off on his own. Xue Qingming and the others watched his back as he left, wanting to speak but holding back in the end. "Senior brother Xue, what should we do now?" a disciple asked. "We need to find other Grand Heaven Mountain disciples and group up," Xue Qingming replied. "But there are only 9 tokens. Even among the same mountain, we'll be forced to compete in the end," the disciple said. "Then we eliminate disciples from the other mountains first. At least that way you'll have a chance to survive. Otherwise, forget the token, you might not even live," Xue Qingming said calmly. "True. Let's go find the Imperial Sun then." The disciple nodded in agreement. "Too bad senior brother Lin doesn't want to lead us. It'd be safer with him." This ancient ruin was vast beyond measure. Su Zimo had no idea where Lin Feng might have gone. Since he couldn't find others, the only way was to make others come find him. And the only way to do that was to collect all 9 tokens. Then the rest would naturally come to him. Although Mu Changa hadn't said where the 9 heavens tokens were located, everyone more or less understood. The locations of the tokens matched the positions of the 9 mountains. Grand Heaven Mountain was in the east, so heading east within the ruins increased the chances of finding one. This ancient ruin was clearly extremely old. From its sheer size alone, one could tell that whoever left it behind had unimaginable power. Back on Dao Mountain, the expression of Jade Heaven Mountain's master, Wang Yuntian, was the most sullen and unpleasant. "Lin Beixing, is this how you teach your disciples?" Wang Yuntian said coldly. "And where were you when your disciple tricked mine into the demonic mist forest?" Lin Beixing shot back. "Fine. Just you wait." Wang Yuntian took a deep breath and said blandly, "Even if your disciple gets into the main sect, as long as Cheer is there, what waves could he possibly stir up?" Mu Changa frowned slightly at the side but said nothing more. Su Zimo headed north and ran into a few disciples from other mountains along the way. Some tried to kill him, he killed them instead. Others left him alone. For the Imperial Sons of the 9 mountains, the priority was clearly to find the tokens first. For the average disciples, it was better to find a token and hide until the trial ended. After all, in terms of true strength, their chances of entering the main sect were very slim. Su Zimo noticed the sky in the ruins always remained bright. There seemed to be no night here. After walking for a long time, he came to a beach. The road ahead was blocked by the ocean. The blue sea stretched endlessly. Far off in the distance, an isolated island floated on the surface of the water. "That must be it," Su Zimo said with a faint smile as he expanded his divine sense. In the next moment, he stepped onto the surface of the water. Like a dragonfly skimming across, he flew rapidly toward the island. The water beneath him remained calm. Not even a ripple stirred. In just a moment, Suzumo flew dozens of meters forward. The closer he got to the island, the more the seawater beneath his feet turned pale. It was like scum floating atop boiling water. Just looking at it made one feel nauseated. Eventually, Suzumo stepped onto the island. It wasn't very large and was covered with mutated blue-violet trees. These trees grew in a ring around the island. The bright green blue-violet fruits hung heavily on the branches, and under the sunlight, they seemed to absorb the light itself. Suzumo walked toward the interior of the island, which resembled a small, stranded beach. Aside from the blue-violet trees, the island had many rocks and gold deposits. After a few steps, Suzumo even discovered a small forest on the island. The forest was extremely hot inside, like a tropical rainforest, completely different from the outside. Just as he entered, Suzumo saw a massive ancient tree. Centered around this tree, 2 battle platforms had been constructed. On one of them sat a box. Beside the platform, a massive sea turtle was sleeping. The turtle was over 10 meters long, its shell green and covered in spikes. Its face was full of deep wrinkles. It looked very old. Suzumo guessed the token was inside the box. Whether that was true or not, he'd have to open it to find out. As he slowly walked toward the box, the sleeping sea turtle opened its eyes. "Human," the turtle spoke, staring at Suzumo. "If you want the box, you must pass my trial." "What kind of trial?" Suzumo asked with interest. "Take 3 of my attacks. If you survive, the box is yours," the turtle said calmly. "Yeah. No thanks." Suzumo waved his hand. He raised his hand high, as if blotting out the sun, casting a massive shadow as he brought it crashing down toward the turtle. Sensing the pressure from Suzumo's hand, the turtle's face grew solemn. "Black tortoise," the turtle shouted softly. The shell on its back radiated a supreme light. The shell expanded instantly, shielding the turtle's entire body. Chapter 644, Trial Cancelled? The sea turtle retracted its entire body into its shell. The shell began to glow brightly, and the spikes on it became hardened, radiating an even colder gleam. "Useless." Suzumo shook his head slightly. As his massive hand came down, cracking sounds echoed from the turtle shell. "A woo!" A strange cry came from inside the shell, followed by the turtle shouting, "Stop! Stop! We agreed this was just a trial. Are you trying to beat this old turtle to death?" Seeing that the shell could no longer withstand the pressure and had begun to crack, Suzumo finally withdrew his hand and said calmly, "Does this mean I passed?" Passed. The turtle cautiously poked its head out from the shell. Taking a deep breath, it spoke nervously, "Are you one of the participating disciples? How could the people of 9 heavens let a monster like you in here?" Suzumo smiled and walked step by step to the treasure chest. The chest was entirely made of gilded gold, with no lock on it. When Suzumo opened the chest, a beam of light shot straight into the sky. Within the beam, a pure white token floated up. Grand Heaven. The token had a single character on each side. Spirit force surged around it as it slowly floated in front of Suzumo. Suzumo took the token with satisfaction and looked at the turtle. "Do you want to die or live?" "You can't kill me." The turtle shook its head quickly. "I have an agreement with the 9 heavens. I help train their disciples, and in return, they let me reside here." "I don't care about some bullshit 9 heavens agreement," Suzumo said. "I do things according to my own rules." "And what are your rules, sir?" the turtle asked cautiously. "My rule is that there are no rules. I do whatever I feel like." Suzumo shrugged. "Now, do you want to die or live?" "Live, of course," the turtle answered without hesitation. "There are 9 tokens in total. Do you know where the other 8 are?" Suzumo asked. The turtle hesitated, but upon seeing the sharpness in Suzumo's eyes, he quickly nodded. Yes, I know. The other 8 tokens are with my 8 old friends. Each one guards a token." "Then take me to them," Suzumo said. "But wouldn't that break the rules of the trial?" the turtle said. "You're talking to me about rules?" Su Zimo tilted his head and smiled. No, no. The turtle shook his head quickly. His huge body rose from the island and began swimming toward the ocean. Su Zimo floated into the air and stood on the turtle's shell. At that moment, the other 8 mountain lords who were watching everything unfold began to panic. Fusion Heaven, he's definitely reached the Fusion Heaven realm, Chongqing said in shock. How is that possible? He's so young. How could he already be at the Fusion Heaven realm? Whispers spread among the others. Clearly, Su Zimo's presence had completely disrupted the balance of the trial. How are we supposed to compete against a Fusion Heaven realm cultivator? Our disciples are just walking to their deaths. Wang Yuntian stood up from his chair. He looked at Lin Beisheng and said, Nice move, Mountain Lord Lin, planning to wipe out all the younger generation from our 8 mountains. Elder Mu, you must stand up for us, Qi Hai and others pleaded. This elder is always fair and just. If anyone breaks the rules, I will punish them without mercy, Mu Chang'e replied. But can you tell me what rule has Lin Qiu actually broken? What do you want me to do about it? This? The mountain lords hesitated. It was true so far everything was within the rules. Elder Mu, do you remember how he killed Xin Lang just now? Elder Qin said calmly. He seemed able to block the spatial force. If that's true, then no one he wants to kill can escape with the spatial talisman. And so what? Mu Chang'e asked. That's not against the rules, is it? True. But have you thought about what happens if he decides to kill all the disciples in the ruins? Elder Qin said. That wouldn't just be a loss to the imperial sect. It would be impossible to explain when we return. Rules are man-made. They can be changed. Hearing this, Mu Chang'e frowned. The situation was getting tricky. Killing everyone, Mu Chang'e actually feared Su Zimo might really do it. If it happened, he'd have no way to explain it to the main sect. But even if we wanted to notify them now, it's too late, Mu Chang'e said. The trial has already begun. I can't just stop it, unless we return to the main sect and forcibly extract everyone. Can't you connect to the spatial gate? Qin Hanxing said. You can warn everyone to crush their spatial talismans and leave on their own. As long as they don't run into Lin Qiu, I doubt he can stop the Space Force. At this point, that's the only option, Mu Chang'e sighed and frowned. This kid really is strange. Once he's out, we should capture him and question him properly. Qin Hanxing continued. To reach Fusion Heaven realm at his age, I don't believe that's a result of normal cultivation. Elder Qin, isn't that a bit out of line? Lin Beisheng immediately stood up and said, My son hasn't done anything wrong. Why arrest him? Don't worry, Mountain Lord Lin. We won't do anything to him. Just ask a few questions. Qin Hanxing smiled. Lin Beisheng frowned deeply. He looked around and saw the other 8 mountain lords clearly siding with Qin Hanxing. Things had gone beyond what he could control. But he's already in the Fusion Heaven realm. If we provoke him, Mu Chang'e said worriedly. What are you afraid of? Both of us are in the Fusion Heaven realm too. You think we can't handle one person? Qin Hanxing said coldly. Besides, the lords of the 8 mountains are also here. You think he can turn the heavens upside down? Mu Chang'e sighed deeply. He raised his right hand. An endless spirit force rippled through the air. The 9 heavens grand formation activated once again, connecting to the spatial gate. His voice carried heavy spiritual energy. Through the power of space, his voice spread into the ruins. All 9 heavens disciples, hear this. Because Lin Qiu of Grand Heaven Mountain has reached the Fusion Heaven realm, there is a severe imbalance in this trial's power levels. We have decided to cancel the trial within the ruins. Everyone, crush your spatial talismans and exit immediately. Although Mu Chang'e's voice entered the ruins, the space inside was too vast. He had to repeat the message again and again, hoping more disciples would hear it. Su Zimo sat atop the old turtle as it slowly made its way northwest. Chapter 645. I challenge all of you. When the voice echoed from the sky, Su Zimo frowned slightly. But he didn't leave the ruins. Instead, he continued heading toward the location of another token. Just after leaving the sea and stepping onto land, he encountered a group of divine Heaven Mountain disciples on the plains ahead. He didn't see Shen Yu among them. As he approached the group, El Lin Xiu, someone stammered, calling out Su Zimo's name. After all, they had heard the announcement just moments ago. Junior brother Lin Xiu, we've never had any conflict with you and don't intend to fight over the token. Please don't kill us. A disciple quickly pleaded. I won't kill you, Su Zimo smiled, but help me pass along a message. Tell all the disciples within the ruins, including all the imperial sons from every peak. 3 hours from now, I, Lin Xiu, will be waiting for them at the valley 3 miles south of here. I challenge the entire younger generation of the Nine Heavens Imperial sect. I will bring all 9 tokens. If they defeat me, they can kill me, eliminate the threat I pose, and take the tokens. But if they're afraid, they can crush their tokens and flee like cowards. From now on, if they see me, they better avoid me. Otherwise, I'll beat them up every time I see them. After speaking, Su Zimo turned and left, leaving the group stunned and speechless. Watching his departing figure without having struck them, one disciple hesitated and asked, Senior brother, what should we do now? Leave or deliver the message? How interesting. He's challenging the entire younger generation of the Nine Heavens sect. Of course, we spread the word. When will we ever witness something this exciting again? The senior brother said with a laugh. But what if? A nearby disciple hesitated. You fool. If the sky falls, the tallest get crushed first. If anyone dies, it'll be those imperial sons. He doesn't care enough to kill us small fry, the senior brother replied. Let's go spread the message. Strength in numbers. A great man once said, the world never lacks people who love watching drama. As that group began spreading the message through the ancient ruins, more and more people heard it and passed it along. Ironically, fewer people were now crushing their tokens to leave. Meanwhile, guided by the old turtle, Su Zimo had already obtained the remaining 8 tokens. Each of those 8 was guarded by a different demonic beast, and each encounter was a trial. Sir, can I leave now? The turtle asked cautiously. Take me to the valley I just mentioned, then you're free, Su Zimo said. The turtle didn't dare argue and quickly headed in that direction. Have you beasts always lived inside the ancient ruins? Su Zimo asked curiously along the way. Yes. Long before the Nine Heavens Empyrean sect discovered this place, we were already living here. After the ruins were found, we weren't strong enough to resist the Supreme Void Grand Empyrean, so we struck a deal. He let us stay, as long as we didn't harm any disciples. Supreme Void Grand Empyrean. That must be the Grand Empyrean from the main sect. Su Zimo smiled and asked, Then who was the original owner of this ruin? We don't know either. We've never met the ruin's true master. Even from a distance, the aura he emitted was so oppressive we dared not approach, said the turtle. So we beasts have always assumed it was a godly monarch. Su Zimo chuckled. Do you know what's beyond the godly monarch realm? That's only something you'll learn once you cross the immortal Tao Bridge. It's not a level we should touch, the turtle replied, shaking his head quickly. As they spoke, the two had arrived at the valley. Though the battle had yet to begin, Su Zimo could already see more and more disciples arriving. Back on Dao Mountain, Muchanga saw this and frowned deeper. What's going on? He asked everyone. I clearly said it already, why have so few people come back? What are the rest doing? This Lin Xiu really knows how to scheme, challenging everyone at once? Sure, he's at Fusion Heaven, but that confidence is over the top, Qin Hanqing sneered. Let's just see how it plays out. I've already given the warning. Still, that many people against one Fusion Heaven cultivator, there's a chance, Muchanga said. As word of Su Zimo's open challenge spread, disciples from every peak rushed to inform their imperial sons. In a mountain hollow, Lin Feng stared at Xue Qingming in disbelief. You're sure he's at Fusion Heaven? Yes, the news is everywhere. He's really in the spotlight now. Xue Qingming nodded. My good little brother. No wonder Yang Cheng failed. You really kept this hidden from me? Lin Feng laughed softly. Then should we leave? There's still that conflict between you two, Xue Qingming said.
No.
We'll contact the other imperial sons. He's shining too brightly, and tall trees catch the wind. Lin Feng said coldly. I bet the others are more anxious than me. They won't allow a threat like him to exist. By a riverside, the imperial son of Scenery Heaven Mountain, Qi Yi, cradled a vertical harp. His 2 fingers were slender and pale. He strummed slowly, and upon hearing the report, smiled and said, So our 9 Heavens sect has someone like that. What do you intend to do, imperial son? Someone asked nearby. No matter what, I must meet him, Qi Yi smiled. Meanwhile, in a forest, the imperial son of Divine Heaven Mountain, known as the most famous among the 9 mountains, heard the news and smiled, waving it off. No big deal. No one can stop me. After everyone left, Shen Yu slowly stood up. He looked into the distance with deep eyes and murmured, They probably don't realize yet that I, Shen Yu, am the true chosen one. More and more people gathered in the valley where Su Zimo sat. Of course, before the 9 imperial sons arrived, everyone held back, not daring to act recklessly. Su Zimo sat atop the valley, placing the 9 heavens tokens in front of him while meditating calmly. That guy is Lin Xiao, right? I heard he used to be a total waste. This is some serious hidden strength, someone whispered. So what if he's fusion heaven? Doesn't make him invincible. Still young. Doesn't know how to hide his edge. As the crowd grew, the 9 imperial sons still had yet to arrive. Some people started getting impatient. What are you all afraid of? If you won't move, then we, the 5 of divine heaven, will test him first. Several loud voices echoed from the valley walls. Chapter 646. We are here to challenge you. As those sharp voices rang out, everyone quickly looked up. They saw 5 young men in golden robes slowly step forward, walking through the air from within the crowd. The 5 sons of divine heaven, perfect for the opening act, someone nearby commented. Rumor has it they're quintuplets, sharing one heart and soul, even cultivating a joint martial technique. Yeah, if it weren't for Shen Yu's overwhelming presence, Divine Heaven Mountain would have probably focused on grooming them instead. Su Zimo looked up and saw the 5 brothers, all identical in appearance. Even when they spoke, they did so in perfect unison, tone, expression, everything in sync. It was as if they moved and thought as one. Lin Xiao, others may fear you, but we 5 brothers want to face you. The 5 sons of divine heaven said together. Come on, I'll let you strike first, Su Zimo said calmly, still seated, without moving an inch. The 5 frowned and raised their hands, spirit force surging around them. Their auras connected, uniting the 5 into a single whole. Their spirit force shifted between 5 colors. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth. The 5 shouted in unison. In an instant, their surroundings erupted. Blazing flames, flooding tides, boundless vitality, indestructible force, and immovable resolve. 5 distinct energies radiated from the brothers. When they fused together, a massive yin-yang disk appeared in the sky. Interesting, Su Zimo smiled. Though the 5 elements could indeed form yin and yang could become chaos, not just any 5-element power could create true yin-yang force. The fusion had to be precise, the right amount, perfect balance, for true yin and yang to form. Great yin-yang art! The 5 roared together, hurling the yin-yang disc downward. The disc transformed into a giant spinning gear, slicing through the sky as it flew towards Su Zimo. The spinning yin-yang gear tore through layers of space, leaving sparks in its wake. Su Zimo remained seated and calmly took out his heaven demon bow. He knocked an arrow, slowly drawing the bowstring as demonic energy gathered at the arrow's tip, forming a dark, powerful shot. When he released the bowstring, there was a thunderous roar as the demon arrow streaked into the sky like 1,000 wild stallions, tearing toward the heavens. Rumbling echoed across the battlefield. With a deafening boom, The yin-yang disc was pierced straight through its center before it could even resist for a second. The demon arrow didn't slow down. It streaked through the sky, leaving a black trail behind it. The 5 sons of divine heaven tried to dodge, but it was far too late. The arrow pierced through all 5 of their chests like skewering candied fruit, pinning them together on a single shaft. Blood spurted from their mouths, so dark it was nearly black. Everyone stared in horror. The 5 brothers' eyes were wide open, lifeless, nailed to the cliff wall above. This, someone stuttered for a long time, unable to speak. Not even one full move. So this is the fusion heaven realm, someone sighed. Until the Imperial Sons arrive, we'd better not act. Let them carry the main fight. So weak. Suzumo shook his head and sat back down. The midday sun blazed above. The valley opened out to a boundless plain. Only a few sparse trees stood in the distance, and the occasional breeze brought rare comfort. The wind's picking up, someone said, looking to the sky. Dust and sand drifted on the breeze. Suddenly, the wind surged through the land, howling and twisting. Leaves and dust were lifted, dancing and falling slowly. Everyone looked up to see 9 figures approaching from afar, cloaked in dust. Their spirit force surged, causing visible ripples in space. 9 different colored robes fluttered in the wind. As they walked forward, they seemed to draw all attention, as if enchanted. The 9 Imperial Sons have joined forces, someone exclaimed in shock. This has never happened in the history of the 9 Heavens sect. A once-in-a-lifetime event. Suzumo slowly opened his eyes, looking toward the 9 approaching figures. Disciples of Divine Heaven Mountain, where are you? Imperial Son of Jade Heaven Mountain, where are you? As the 9 shouted in unison, the entire valley and the surrounding mountains erupted with the voices of countless disciples. Here! The roar was deafening, like dragons crying across the plains, tigers roaring through the forest, shaking the sky with thunderous force. If I die in battle today, take my body back to the 9 Heavens sect. Let it return to its roots. Shinyu shouted to the crowd. We obey the Imperial Sons. The surrounding disciples shouted in unison. The 9 walked forward, step by step, until they stood before Suzumo. You've come, Suzumo said with a smile. We have. Junior brother Lin truly is full of surprises. Shinyu replied with a smile. I thought some of you would run afraid to die, Suzumo said. Junior brother Lin has already entered the fusion heaven realm. Alone, we wouldn't be a match for you. So today, we can only challenge you as a group, the 9 said, cupping their fists, their gazes sharp. Today, we 9 Imperial Sons of the 9 Heavens sect challenge you, this cultivator of fusion heaven realm. Come all at once. That way, no one can say I bullied you. Suzumo stood and replied calmly. The 9 gathered their spirit force. Chi-Yi took out his harp, his 6 fingers glowing with energy. As he strummed the strings, a sound like war drums and battle cries filled the air. Sonic waves like 1,000 troops charged toward Suzumo. Jade Heaven's Imperial Son, Yen Song, unleashed thick, endless spirit force, proof of high mastery of the 9 Heavens Empyrean canon. He struck with one palm, thunder and lightning erupting from his hand, white energy surging violently. Pure Heaven's Imperial Son, Yu Chonglong, wielded a 5-foot-long blade. His body radiated sharp blade intent, like an unsheathed weapon. The aura of his heaven derivation sword technique grew stronger and stronger. As his blade rose, even the surrounding space cracked. The other Imperial Sons also unleashed their techniques, all aiming to kill Suzumo. Among them, Shunyu remained the calmest. Spirit force gathered in his hands, but he didn't strike immediately. He watched Suzumo closely, waiting for the perfect moment to find an opening. All of these attacks launched at once, unstoppable, overwhelming, like the sky collapsing and the earth shattering. The space around them crumbled completely. Even the shockwaves terrified the nearby spectators, forcing them to retreat. The air was filled with harp music, blade aura, sword energy, Formations, palm strikes. Chapter 647, A Speck in the Vast Sea. These 9 imperial suns each had unique strengths, all deeply skilled in their respective fields. Blades flashed, swords clashed, thunder roared from their palms, and endless storms raged all around. As the 9 imperial suns attacked together, the world seemed to shift, the skies and earth trembling. Below, the watching disciples were filled with awe. So this is the power of an imperial sun. Not necessarily, this might just be a test of his strength, someone said, shaking their head. Su Zimo slowly raised his head. Watching all of this, he didn't even attempt to dodge, letting the attacks land directly on him. Explosions boomed across the sky as half the heavens were engulfed in destruction. The 9 imperial suns narrowed their eyes. Even with a fusion heaven realm body, taking these attacks head-on would cause injury. Is that all you've got? Su Zimo's voice rang out from within the dust. As the dust settled, he walked out completely unscathed. You? The expressions of the 9 grew even heavier. So you're not newly advanced to fusion heaven. Interpret it however you like, Su Zimo said, shaking his head. He waved his hand and targeted Lin Feng first. Stop him! Feeling the crushing pressure from Su Zimo's hand, Lin Feng shouted in panic. Profound heavenly Buddhist aria, Qi shouted. His right hand plucked his harp faster and faster. This time, what emerged wasn't musical notes but true Buddhist chants. The chants manifested into visible Sanskrit symbols, transforming into golden light that suppressed down towards Su Zimo. Heaven derivation blade. Yu Chonglong also roared. The blade shadows behind him multiplied into countless phantoms, slashing at Su Zimo. Flame sword. Heaven-suppressing palm. Myriad miles of frozen river. Each mountain's signature technique was unleashed one after another. In an instant, storm clouds covered the entire sky and land. Even those watching from the projection atop Dao Mountain could only see a field of white. Mu Changa's brow relaxed slightly, thinking to himself, this level of attack was dangerous even for him. He considered himself unmatched within the fusion heaven realm. Since I'm a disciple of the 9 Heavens sect, don't say I bullied you. I'll defeat you using only Grand Heaven Mountain's martial techniques, Su Zimo said calmly. A speck in the vast sea. He waved both hands, spirit force gathering at his fingertips. These threads of energy were fine and precise, like unraveling silk. Under this control, a crystal-clear droplet of water appeared at his fingertip. It looked ordinary, completely transparent, shimmering like a dream. Is that? On Dao Mountain, Lin Beixing's eyes darkened as he muttered, when did Shoer learn that technique? He had indeed given Su Zimo the token before, but that wasn't long ago. How could he have mastered a peak's signature technique in such a short time? As the droplet appeared in Su Zimo's hand, he waved his right hand through the sky. With a crashing sound, that single droplet transformed into a vast, surging ocean. This? Lin Feng stared in shock, speechless. The ocean surrounded Su Zimo completely, waves roaring like a tsunami. Tornadoes spun violently, twisting the entire sky. The ocean's power was terrifying. Water may be formless, and a single drop may seem insignificant. But when the seas gather, they can destroy all creation. Su Zimo stood calmly, then swept his hand. With a thunderous boom, the attacks from the 9 imperial suns were all wiped away, engulfed by the tsunami's wind and waves. It surged down like the end of the world, set to swallow everything. 3 of the imperial suns didn't even have time to resist and were completely submerged. Their bodies were obliterated by the tsunami. No trace or bones remained. The others, though able to dodge in time, were still swept far away by the crashing waves. Su Zimo waved his hand again, and the raging sea condensed back into a single droplet of water on his fingertip. He slowly descended from mid-air, walking step by step toward Lin Feng. At this moment, Lin Feng was clearly gravely injured, soaked by the seawater, half kneeling and panting heavily. As Su Zimo approached, a flash of panic crossed his eyes. You? Lin Feng's face twisted with fear. What? Su Zimo asked with a smile. How is the fusion heaven realm this strong? Lin Feng asked in horror. Su Zimo squatted down in front of him and said calmly, When did I ever say I was only fusion heaven? You? Could it be? Lin Feng's face changed drastically. As he looked at Su Zimo, even his breath seemed to freeze. Cold sweat mixed with seawater dripped down his forehead. I'm a fair man, Su Zimo said indifferently, standing up slowly. But for father's sake, I'll leave your corpse intact. Kill yourself. Lin Feng remained seated, motionless. Even his pupils seemed frozen. His face turned ashen as he looked at Su Zimo. Do you know why I wanted to kill you? I'm not really interested, Su Zimo replied. But I'll let you speak since you're about to die. You're actually not my biological brother, Lin Feng said bitterly, calming himself. Your father's son with another woman. Su Zimo's eyes narrowed slightly. Go on. We didn't even know you existed. Then one day, father brought you back, covered in blood. My mother hated you. She told father to choose between you and her. He chose you. So she killed herself in her own courtyard, Lin Feng said. So you've hated me ever since? Su Zimo asked. Shouldn't I? Lin Feng retorted. I was still young. Father thought I didn't remember, but mother had a loyal old servant. When I grew up, he told me everything. I hated you. I hated father too. He betrayed my mother. She couldn't bear the humiliation and took her life. You're not wrong. It's understandable, Su Zimo said calmly as he stood. But in this world, winners live and losers die. Right or wrong doesn't matter. Power is everything. As Su Zimo walked away, Lin Feng burst into bitter, broken laughter. There was pain in his smile. Tragic, helpless. We were wrong. All of us, he said. Then, with those final words, he struck his own abdomen, severing his own soul and meridians. Blood sprayed from his mouth, and his body collapsed lifeless to the ground. Chapter 648. Annihilation. Feng on Dao Mountain. Lin Beixing clutched his face in agony, sitting in his chair as if he'd aged many years in an instant. Mu Chang'e and the other 8 peak masters all wore grim expressions. This guy is even more monstrous than Wang Qi back in the day. Letting him into the main sect, it's hard to say whether that would be good or bad, Mu Chang'e said, shaking his head slightly. Geniuses are always in demand no matter where they are, but someone like Su Zimo, who reached this level almost entirely without relying on the branch sect or the main sect, had a dangerously powerful sense of self. He had no sense of belonging. To him, the main sect might be nothing more than a stepping stone. This Lin Qiu maliciously slaughtered his fellow disciples. He must be severely punished, Chongqing said from the side. True, we had a rule that during trials, life and death were not questioned. But now that the trial has been cancelled, that rule no longer applies. He still slaughtered our sect's disciples. That's unforgivable, Qin Hanqing added calmly. Mu Chang'e only furrowed his brow slightly this time and didn't argue back. When he comes out, if he can't give us a reasonable explanation, we'll all act together to take him down before he escapes, Wang Yuntian suggested. Inside the ancient ruins, when they saw Lin Feng commit suicide, everyone wore heavy expressions. Just one round, and 4 of the 9 imperial sons had already fallen. The remaining 5 stood in a row. Yu Chonglong, holding his long blade, shouted, Everyone, use whatever trump cards you have. Otherwise, we probably won't make it out alive. If I don't go mad as a Buddha, how can I become a demon? Qi Ye's 6 fingers were already bleeding, his hair visibly falling out strand by strand. His skin grew increasingly pale, as though all his energy was being drained. World-destroying demon song, he roared like a wild beast. He completely fell into a state of madness, and the speed at which his 6 fingers plucked his zither created countless afterimages. Ripples of black demonic sound surged outward. At that moment, green grass withered, space shattered, and everything around him suffered massive destruction. Seal your hearing now, Yen Song shouted. Some disciples nearby didn't manage to escape in time. As the sound waves spread at the speed of light, some went mad on the spot. Their blood surged and veins burst. They died in fits of madness. Seeing this, Yu Chonglong sighed in relief. So his music is really that powerful. Even though that move wasn't aimed at us. Just the residual effects are terrifying. Shin Yu said nothing. Instead, he turned his gaze toward Su Zimo. Su Zimo stood at the center of the demonic sound. His eyes were closed. After a while, he opened them, completely calm, and said with a smile, "Such beautiful music. The demon song doesn't work on him?" Yen Song frowned. "Kill!" Shin Yu gave a low shout. The stars in his palm shone brilliantly as he charged at Su Zimo. Galaxy Seal. Heaven Derivation Blade. 36th Layer. Yu Chonglong followed right after. 9 Heavens Immortal Sword. Yen Song's gaze sharpened. His sword aura surged like roaring waves, one after another. "I've lost interest in playing with you." Su Zimo waved his hand and said softly, "Law without cause." As he waved his right hand, black mist surged around him. Countless tendrils of black mist soared into the sky, engulfing the surrounding valley. The mist screeched harshly. These masses of black mist transformed into ghostly heads, savage and filled with malice. Ghostly heads rampaged through the area. Any disciple they touched fell into madness, weeping and laughing uncontrollably, dying trapped in their own delusions. On Dao Mountain, Lin Beixing suddenly stood up, eyes glowing. 6 cuts of Ghost Zen. Chou'er actually mastered that technique. Wasn't it said that only Ghost Tathagata could use it? Chongqing asked, frowning. Everyone knew how powerful this move was. Back when Ghost Tathagata was still in the Fusion Heaven realm, he could already rival the 9 Heaven Sage. If the sage hadn't gone all out and seriously wounded him, he might never have been killed. Ghost Tathagata's strength came in large part from this technique. He poured his life's work into developing it, so much so that he left the Buddhist sect to complete it. But after Ghost Tathagata, no one had ever successfully cultivated it, and it gradually faded from memory. "This is going to be trouble," Wang Yuntian said. "We just don't know how many of the 6 cuts he's mastered." As the ghostly heads swarmed through the air, Yen Song slashed with his 9 Heavens Immortal Sword. With a loud boom, the ghost head trembled but remained unscathed. Instead, the shockwave sent Yen Song flying. He stabilized himself, looked at the endless ghost heads around him, and his heart trembled violently. He'd attacked with full strength and still couldn't destroy even one. "Run!" he shouted, quickly crushing his spatial token. But Su Zimo had already sealed off the entire area. As the Tao of space began to manifest, it was immediately swallowed up. "What's happening?" Yen Song looked around in panic. Nothing had changed. He was truly terrified now. As time passed, more and more ghost heads filled the sky. Then, like vengeful spirits, they all screamed and charged toward Yen Song. "Aya!" His screams rang through the air. These ghost heads didn't just attack Yen Song. Even the surrounding disciples who were only watching were caught in the onslaught. From the projection on Dao Mountain, all that could be seen were endless ghostly heads. Corpses began piling up across the valley. And this was only one move, law without cause. Yet its area of effect power was already this devastating. The ghost heads swallowed everything. As the screams gradually faded, Su Zimo looked out across the valley. It was covered with corpses. The stench of blood filled the air. These people had hoped to follow the 9 imperial sons and coast through the trial, maybe pick up some scraps. Too bad they paid for it with their lives. If they had just crushed their tokens and escaped, they would have been safe. The 5 remaining imperial sons had also been consumed by the ghost heads. Qi Ye's demonic music came to an end. He was already on the brink of death. "It's over." Su Zimo clapped his hands and was about to leave when Shin Yu, lying on the ground, suddenly stood up. "Junior brother Lin Qiu, don't be in such a hurry," Shin Yu said calmly. "Oh? Interesting," Su Zimo murmured in surprise. Under the law without cause, Shen Yu was the only one still alive. Chapter 649, Empyrean Power. Someone once told me you were the strongest among the 9 imperial sons. I was thinking your strength earlier seemed mediocre. Turns out you were just holding back, Su Zimo said with a smile. I waited until they were all dead. Now I'll kill you and become the chosen one of the main sect, Shen Yu sneered. Where does your confidence come from? Su Zimo asked with interest. You'll find out soon, Shen Yu replied calmly. At that moment, a surge of pure white spirit force erupted from his body and shot into the sky. The aura carried an overwhelming might that surpassed the fusion heaven realm, reaching the pressure of a grand Empyrean. What's this? Su Zimo watched with curiosity. That white spirit force enveloped the entire void. Within the haze, a figure seemed to faintly appear. It's the Grandmaster. On Dao Mountain, everyone stood up in surprise. Why is the Grandmaster's shadow appearing on Shen Yu? Wang Yuntian asked with a frown. Everyone turned their eyes to Chongqing, the Lord of Divine Heaven Mountain, filled with suspicion. Don't look at me. This has nothing to do with me, Chongqing said with a laugh. Yuer received the Grandmaster's inheritance. Inheritance? When did the Grandmaster leave behind a personal inheritance? Qihai asked. I don't know either, but the Grandmaster chose Yuer. That proves he favors him, Chongqing said. Even if you're envious, it's useless. The crowd had mixed expressions, their thoughts unreadable. Inside the ethereal aura, Su Zimo couldn't clearly see the figure, but he could feel the pressure of a grand Empyrean. Bet you didn't expect this. My trump card is the inheritance of the 9 Heaven Sage, Shen Yu said proudly. I've held onto this card for years, waiting for a life or death moment. I should thank you for getting rid of the others for me. No need to thank me. Soon you'll be joining them, Su Zimo said flatly. A grand Empyrean strike. Do you really think you can withstand it? Shen Yu snorted coldly. He closed his eyes. His expression turned solemn and dignified, as if he had become one with the massive shadow in the void. His aura surged to match that of a grand Empyrean. A grand Empyrean could found their own sect, become immortal, their path broad and endless, with divine power in every gesture. Shen Yu floated high in the sky, looking down coldly at Su Zimo. D. That single word shook the Tao itself, bringing divine might down toward Su Zimo. I was wondering what it was. Turns out it's just a remnant soul. Su Zimo shook his head slightly. He guessed Shen Yu had stumbled upon the 9 Heavens Sage's inheritance, which included a remnant soul. After countless ages and the erosion of time, that remnant soul had long since reached its limit. Its power could barely simulate one strike from a grand Empyrean, and Shen Yu had treated it as his ultimate card. Even a real grand Empyrean's full-strength strike wouldn't faze Su Zimo, let alone this. As the grand Empyrean's might descended, the projection on Dao Mountain shattered under the pressure. This, the mountain lords looked at each other, then turned to Mu Chang'e. Wait, the final survivor will be returned through the spatial gate, Mu Chang'e said calmly. His mood was sour. Most of the disciples had died in this trial. This might be the bloodiest 9 Heavens gathering ever. There was no way to explain this to the main sect, and the 9 Heavens sect itself suffered even more. D. Shen Yu roared as the shadow slowly lowered its head, and a finger reached toward Su Zimo. Though it was just a finger, it was like a pillar reaching to the heavens. As it came down, space completely collapsed around it. Explosions echoed. Su Zimo looked up, smiling calmly. He also raised his right index finger to meet the descending strike. Compared to the pillar-like finger, Su Zimo's looked like a bug striking a tree, an ant defying the sky. But when the two fingers collided, a loud boom rang out. Su Zimo's finger effortlessly shattered the Grand Empyrean's shadow. Impossible! That's impossible! Shen Yu shouted in disbelief, watching his body vanish along with the shadow. His face twisted in despair. Pathetic. You don't even understand the power you're wielding, yet you talk so big. Su Zimo shook his head. You thought you were the hunter, but you were just prey. He looked around at the shattered mountains and cracked earth, corpses covering the land. He glanced at the 9 tokens in front of him, sneered, and threw them to the ground. With a wave of his right hand, a spatial portal opened, returning him to the 9 heavens sect. Several auras instantly erupted, and several figures surrounded him. Lin Qiu, do you know your crime? Multiple voices shouted in unison when they saw his face. Is there a problem? Su Zimo looked up indifferently. You murdered fellow disciples and still won't surrender? Chongqing roared in fury. The trial was officially cancelled. Why did you still kill? Because they tried to kill me, Su Zimo replied. Still making excuses? Seize him now, we'll interrogate him later. Wang Yuntian shouted, reaching toward him. Su Zimo frowned and slapped out with his palm. Wang Yuntian was blasted away, crashing into the distant mountain. How dare you? Qin Hanqing slammed his chair and stood up. He stared coldly at Su Zimo. No matter what, he's still your elder. How dare you assault your elder? What? You trying to frame me and force me to rebel? Su Zimo asked. Lin Qiu will handle this fairly, Mu Chang'e sighed from the side. But you did go too far. I advise you not to resist. Otherwise, I'll take it as a declaration of war against the main sect, Qin Hanqing said coldly. The might of the Empyrean sect. There's nowhere in the southern region you can hide. Qiu'er, come stand behind your father. Lin Beixing stepped forward after a moment of silence. Lin Beixing, what are you doing? Qin Hanqing snapped. If you want to harm my son, you'll have to step over my corpse first. Lin Beixing stood in front of Su Zimo and said calmly, Is your grand heaven lineage trying to start a war? Chongqing sneered. No, I'm speaking only for myself. This has nothing to do with the grand heaven lineage. Lin Beixing shook his head. Chapter 659 Heavens Reunified. You speak so lightly. As the Lord of Grand Heaven Mountain, how could it have nothing to do with you? Qi Hai said. I suggest we remove Lin Beixing from his position and appoint a new mountain lord ourselves. Since when did my Grand Heaven Mountain's position become your business? Lin Beixing said with a frown. The ancestor will make the final decision. I will report this matter to the main sect. We'll see what the main sect decides, Mu Chang'e said calmly. But for now, the 2 of you, father and son, will stay here until judgment is passed. Mu Chang'e and Qin Hanqing stood up together, and the other 8 mountain lords also released their auras, surrounding Su Zimo and Lin Beixing with aggression. Qiu'er, it's your father's incompetence that I can't protect you, Lin Beixing said with sorrow. Dad, do you want to unify the 9 heavens? Su Zimo asked. What? Lin Beixing was stunned, not yet understanding Su Zimo's words. Just wait, Su Zimo smiled, then turned to the crowd around him. He spoke calmly. I'll give you 2 choices. First, acknowledge my father as the ruler of the 9 heavens. Or second, I kill all of you. Outrageous. Arrogant beyond belief. Childish brat who knows nothing of the world. Before Su Zimo even finished speaking, everyone around him erupted in fury. You really think that just because you have a bit of strength, you can do whatever you want? The 9 heavens sect has been divided for thousands of years. You think one sentence from you can resolve that? Enough talk. Take him down first. Someone roared and charged at Su Zimo. Morons! Su Zimo snorted coldly. Holding the heaven demon bow, infernal force surged all around. He drew his bow, channeling endless infernal force into the string. Eightfold massacre, Su Zimo said softly. With that shot, 8 demonic arrows exploded forth simultaneously. They shot toward the 8 mountain lords like lightning. Su Zimo wanted a swift conclusion and held nothing back. The speed of the arrows was staggering, leaving afterimages across the sky, so fast they became invisible in the end. What is this? Chongqing of Divine Heaven Mountain shouted as he was pierced through and pinned to his own peak. One after another, the other mountain lords were also struck down and nailed to their respective mountain peaks. You? The mountain lords looked at Su Zimo in terror, struggling but unable to free themselves from the arrows. Kill him! Qin Hanxing frowned and exchanged a glance with Muchanga. The two attacked from both sides. If the Supreme Void Grand Empyrean himself were here today, I might be interested in a fight, Suzimo said lightly. But the likes of you? Not worth it. He clapped his hands together. Muchanga felt an overwhelming force bearing down on him. Before he could even resist, he was sent flying. Qin Hanxing suffered the same fate. As he struggled to his feet, Suzimo approached step by step. With his right hand, he grabbed Qin Hanxing by the throat. I hear you have a lot of complaints about our Grand Heaven Mountain? Suzimo asked. If you kill me, the main sect won't let you off, Qin Hanxing said, struggling. And without the main sect's help, your Grand Heaven sect will eventually decline. Unfortunately, you won't live to see that day, Suzimo said, then squeezed hard and crushed his neck and skull. He wiped the blood on Qin Hanxing's clothes and threw the corpse aside. Then he turned to Muchanga and said, I won't kill you. Go back and give the main sect a message. From now on, the Nine Heavens Imperial Sect doesn't need anyone's help, nor will it be your vassal. If there's anything to discuss, let the Supreme Void Grand Empyrean come find me. You've become a Grand Empyrean? I don't believe it. Muchanga looked at Suzimo and shook his head. A 20-something becoming a Grand Empyrean, it shattered his worldview. He simply couldn't believe it. From what Muchanga knew, the fastest anyone had ever become a Grand Empyrean on the Eternal Lands took hundreds of years. The path of martial cultivation, every step is a leap across the heavens, is not just a saying. That's not something you should worry about, Suzimo said calmly. Even a Grand Empyrean is nothing more than an ant. I will deliver your message word for word to the main sect, Muchanga said after a moment of thought. From today on, there is no main sect and no branch sect, only the Nine Heavens sect and the Empyrean sect, Suzimo said. Muchanga gave Suzimo a deep look, then said to the woman beside him, Zir, we're leaving. As the two took to the air and flew away, Suzimo turned back. Lin Beixing stood frozen, staring at him. Father, what's wrong? Suzimo asked. Are you really Choer? Lin Beixing said. Why? Don't I look like him? Suzimo smiled. You do, everything about you does. Except your personality, it's completely different. Lin Beixing shook his head and sighed. You've completely offended the main sect this time. Isn't it a good thing for Father to be the ruler of the Nine Heavens? Suzimo asked. How will we explain things to the main sect? And what about the other 8 branches? Some of their ancestors are still alive. They won't agree, Lin Beixing said, shaking his head. No rush with the main sect. Let them come to me, Suzimo said. As for the other ancestors, I'll take care of them. For the disciples of the Nine Heavens sect, this was an unforgettable day. It was the end of June, a blazing hot summer day. Lin Qiu of Grand Heaven Mountain visited all 8 mountain peaks. When he left, the heads of the 8 branch ancestors were hanging from the willows in front of each mountain. Panic spread like wildfire. Many disciples went into seclusion or fled altogether. A few days later, one afternoon, Lin Beixing held a sect-wide meeting. He proposed to reunify the Nine Heavens and rebuild the Nine Heavens sect. During the meeting, the room was silent. No one dared to oppose him. But Lin Beixing didn't force anyone to stay. From then on, the Nine Heavens sect would no longer be divided. Anyone wishing to stay had to receive the new robes of the unified sect. Those who wanted to leave were given spirit stones as severance. Most people still chose to leave. Having fallen out with the main sect, the Nine Heavens sect's future looked bleak. Hard days were ahead. Given their talent, many could join other sects. There was no need to risk their future. But some disciples had grown attached to the sect and were unwilling to leave. In the end, they chose to stay. Reunifying the Nine Heavens was an extremely complicated task. It couldn't be done in just a few days. In those few days, Lin Beixing was so busy he barely returned home. Chapter 651. How could we be mere nobodies? Lin Jumi was also helping manage things. To rule the 9 heavens in his lifetime had always been his dream. Only Su Zimo seemed relaxed, resting in the courtyard and occasionally cultivating his heaven-shattering God scripture. By now, he had fully mastered his strength and begun condensing his power vortex. Summer had reached its final stretch, the sun doing its best to cast one last bit of heat onto the earth. That afternoon, Jiang Chongqing came to Su Zimo's courtyard. "Senior brother, I've completed the task you assigned. From today on, there is no more little Qing in this world," Jiang Chongqing said respectfully. "Not bad," Su Zimo said with a smile as he lay on a lounge chair. "It's about time I leave." "You're leaving, senior brother?" Jiang Chongqing froze for a moment. "Yeah. Things in the 9 heavens sect are taken care of. What's the point of staying?" Su Zimo replied. "But the 9 heavens sect needs you now more than ever," Jiang Chongqing said. "There's no one in this world who's truly indispensable. The future of the 9 heavens sect depends on itself, and on the younger generation like you," Su Zimo said. "Then where are you going, senior brother?" "I'll come with you," Jiang Chongqing said. "Focus on your cultivation. Your strength is too weak. I may never return after this journey." Su Zimo waved his hand. He pulled out a pile of items from his storage ring and handed them to Jiang Chongqing. It included various techniques, pills, and herbs, resources that could significantly boost Jiang Chongqing's strength in a short time. In the myriad beast realm of the god world, the dragon race had begun to flourish. Su Zimo even gave him a dragon egg that was close to hatching. Jiang Chongqing held the egg and looked at the pile of items, remaining silent for a long time. "Senior brother, what did I ever do to deserve this?" Jiang Chongqing said with deep emotion. "Now that the 9 imperial sons are all dead, you're the one I have my hopes on in the younger generation of the 9 heavens sect. I hope you can lead this sect to greatness," Su Zimo said with a smile. "Don't worry, senior brother. From now on, my life belongs to the 9 heavens sect," Jiang Chongqing said solemnly. Su Zimo waved and smiled. "Go on. If one day you reach the immortal Dao Bridge, perhaps we'll meet again." "Senior brother." Jiang Chongqing gave Su Zimo a deep look, then knelt and bowed 3 times before leaving. He knew that the things Su Zimo gave him today could very well change his fate. A mentor's grace is like rebirth. Su Zimo had treated him like no less than a brother. Though he hadn't helped Su Zimo much, these resources would allow him to grow immensely. After Jiang Chongqing left, Jiu asked, "Are we going to the God Race ruins next?" "No, first to the world's sovereign Empyrean sect." Su Zimo shook his head. "What for?" Jiu asked curiously. "Don't ask so much. Just follow me," Su Zimo replied. Time passed like a fleeting shadow. By dusk, the sky had grown dim. After a busy day, Lin Jumi and Lin Beixing came to find Su Zimo. "Chou'er, you're leaving?" Lin Beixing asked in surprise. "Yes, I've got other things to handle. But don't worry, I have ways of dealing with the Empyrean sect," Su Zimo replied. "You've grown up. Once you've made up your mind, I can't stop you," Lin Beixing sighed. "Take care of yourself out there. No matter what happens, don't forget, you always have a home here." Su Zimo nodded and handed Lin Beixing a token. It was forged from black iron, with the image of a ferocious beast carved onto it. "What's this?" Lin Beixing asked, surprised. "The myriad beast token. Only when the 9 heavens sect is on the brink of destruction should you use it," Su Zimo said. "Pour your spirit force into it, and the guardian beast will appear." "This?" Lin Beixing looked at the token in shock. "Something like this actually exists? If the Supreme Void Grand Empyrean descends one day and cannot find me, and he dares to slaughter the sect without regard for a Grand Empyrean's dignity, then use it," Su Zimo said. "I understand," Lin Beixing said, nodding heavily as he took the token. The 3 of them chatted a little longer before Lin Beixing and Lin Jumi finally left. Su Zimo sat cross-legged on his bed and sent his spirit into the god world. He entered directly into the myriad beast realm. "My lord!" The god beasts hurried over to pay their respects. The dragon race was still dominant. After years of recovery, it had begun to thrive again. The 10 ancient god beasts had also begun to regain their strength, including the Jade Beast and the Void Spirit Monkey Su Zimo had previously captured. Chimera, Su Zimo called out to one of the god beasts. From among them, a beast that resembled a lion but looked even more ferocious stepped forward. It had 2 horns, long and sharp fangs and thick fur. A strong, bloody aura radiated from its body. "Yes, my lord." Chimera lay down and replied respectfully. "Go cultivate beneath the Tao Mountain. That's the center of the 9 heavens grand formation, where the spirit force is most abundant," Su Zimo said. "I also grant you a portion of world origin. When you ascend to the immortal path, it will be useful. Protect the 9 heavens sect for 3,000 years. After that, you are free to leave and pursue the martial path on the immortal Tao Bridge." "Thank you, my lord," Chimera said gratefully. Su Zimo opened a spatial gate to the god world and sent Chimera directly to Tao Mountain. That day, deafening beastly roars echoed around Tao Mountain. The sounds struck terror into people's hearts. The roars alone felt like they could stop a person's heart. Spirit force surged around the peak. The purple sun rose across 3,000 miles, and the entire 9 heavens grand formation activated, endlessly drawing in surrounding energy. The phenomena lasted for a while before calming down. The next morning, Su Zimo didn't say goodbye to any of the other disciples. He and Jiuyu simply set off on their journey away from the 9 heavens sect. On Grand Heaven Mountain, Lin Beisheng and Lin Jumi stood at the summit. "Qiu'er is gone," Lin Beisheng sighed. "Don't speak of anything that's happened these past few days. Let's seal the mountain for a while," Lin Jumi said as he looked out toward the distant horizon. "I have a feeling that behind this calm is a coming storm." "Actually, I've been thinking too," Lin Beisheng said. "Though the 9 heavens sect is in chaos now, I see hope. As they say, destruction brings rebirth. I suppose that's what this means." He added freely, "You and I are the same. If we don't reach Grand Empyrean in this life, we'll have less than 1,000 years to live. It may be better than mortals, but still it passes like a fleeting shadow. So why not throw ourselves fully into this grand endeavor? Maybe we'll carve out a future, laughing up to the sky as we walk out the door of life and death. How could we be mere nobodies?" Chapter 652 World Sovereign Empyrean Sect. Su Zimo and Jiuyu had just left the 9 heavens sect and descended from 9 heavens mountains when they were suddenly surrounded by a group of people. These individuals were all dressed in cyan blue robes, with a white holy sun insignia printed on their backs. The World Sovereign Empyrean Sect. Jiuyu immediately recognized the attire and reacted. "Young Master Lin, our sect's saintess would like to invite you to meet her. Would you be willing?" The leading disciple said with a smile. "What for?" Su Zimo asked with a grin. The saintess didn't say. "We're just messengers," the lead disciple replied. "And if I refuse?" Su Zimo asked again. The saintess said she won't force you, but if you want to learn more about the ancient demon race, it's best you see her, the disciple answered. "Where is she?" Su Zimo asked. "Bright Flame City, the disciple replied. "Then let's go take a look." Su Zimo smiled and followed the disciple toward Bright Flame City. "You knew she would reach out to you?" Jiuyu asked from the side. "More or less," Su Zimo nodded. After entering Bright Flame City, the group headed straight to an inn. The inn was empty of other guests. Inside, only Huangfu Hao and Huangfu Xianyue, the sibling pair, were leisurely sipping tea. "Brother Lin, long time no see." Huangfu Hao turned around and greeted him with a calm smile. Su Zimo gave a slight nod and sat down with Jiuyu nearby. Huangfu Xianyue waved her hand, and the disciples outside exited to stand guard at the inn's entrance. "Miss Huangfu, why have you asked me here?" Su Zimo asked. "First, tell me, are you of the ancient demon race?" Huangfu Xianyue's beautiful eyes sparkled as she smiled. "Is that really important?" Su Zimo responded. "Brother Lin, don't play coy. My sister has a natural sensitivity to energy. Her perception never fails." Huangfu Hao added. "Don't call me Brother Lin. Are we that close?" Su Zimo glanced at him and said flatly, "Yes, I am of the ancient demon race. Now speak." Su Zimo nodded and admitted, "Do you know the history of the ancient demon race?" Huang Fuxianyue asked. Su Zimo shook his head. He assumed the ancient demon race in this world was somehow connected to him. After the destruction of the Blessed Epoch, some demons were sealed within the primordial demon cave, while others, like Paimon, were left in the primordial heartlands. As for those like Demon 13, they likely ended up in the Eternal Lands. But as for the ancient demon race in the Eternal Lands, it seemed to have been wiped out, and he hadn't learned much about it yet. Before Huang Fuxianyue could speak, Zhou Yu chimed in. During God-Demon era, 3 powerful factions ruled the world: the ancient God race, the ancient demon race, and other assorted races. The ancient God and ancient demon races were supreme, the most powerful beings. They constantly clashed, and wars broke out often. The Eternal Lands endured 10,000 years of their conflict. "Seems this lady knows quite a bit," Huang Fuxianyue smiled. "That's right. Back then, the ancient God and ancient demon races were at the top. Even if all other races united, they were barely surviving. But for unknown reasons, one day the ancient God and ancient demon races launched a cataclysmic war. It happened at the God-Demon battlefield. Both races perished together. Only then did the other races begin to rise, leading to the world's current structure." "What are you trying to say?" Su Zimo asked. "Do you know why the ancient God and ancient demon races were so powerful?" Huang Fuxianyue asked. "The ancient God and demon physiques," Zhou Yu answered. "The ancient God race had ancient God physiques, and the ancient demon race had ancient demon physiques. These were unique constitutions with incredible defensive power and the ability to continuously regenerate spirit force. Something no other race could match." "Looks like you know more than me about the ancient God and ancient demon races," Huang Fuxianyue said with meaningful eyes toward Zhou Yu. "You asked me here just to tell me this?" Su Zimo asked. When it came to demonic bodies, ordinary demons only had average ones. But he possessed the supreme hell-suppressing demon physique, something he knew better than anyone. "Since you're a descendant of the ancient demon race, have you inherited a demonic body?" Huang Fuxianyue asked. "Demonic bodies can only be inherited by full-blooded demons. Descendants of ancient God or ancient demon races usually can't inherit them," Zhou Yu said. "You're right, but I know of a method that could allow Brother Lin to obtain a demonic body," Huang Fuxianyue said. "What method?" Zhou Yu asked quickly. Huang Fuxianyue looked at her, then turned to Su Zimo and asked, "Aren't you curious? There's no such thing as a free lunch. Tell me your conditions first," Su Zimo replied. "My conditions are simple. I want you to join the world's sovereign Empyrean sect," Huang Fuxianyue said. "And also, the formation of the demonic body won't happen overnight. During this time, you must trust me unconditionally. Join the world's sovereign Empyrean sect. That's all." Su Zimo smiled. "You may not know, but even within the world's sovereign Empyrean sect, there are several factions. My father leads the Red King faction, and I hope you'll join our faction when you enter the sect," Huang Fuxianyue said. "No problem," Su Zimo nodded. "If that's settled, prepare to come with us to the world's sovereign Empyrean sect," Huang Fuxianyue said. Su Zimo nodded. The group left the inn and headed straight to Bright Flame City's teleportation formation. On the way, Zhou Yu looked at Huang Fuxianyue and asked, "Do you have a method for acquiring an ancient god body?" "Of course," Huang Fuxianyue nodded. "Why? Do you know any descendants of the ancient god race?" "No, just asking," Zhou Yu smiled. The group arrived at Bright Flame City's teleportation array. As the main city of the Nine Heavens sect, Bright Flame City could teleport directly to the capital of the world's sovereign Empyrean sect, Heaven World City. The sect was located just beyond Heaven World City. Watching the Huangfu siblings enter the teleportation formation, Zhou Yu glanced at Su Zimo and asked, "Do you really believe what she said?" "Nope," Su Zimo said with a smile. "Then why are you going?" Zhou Yu asked in confusion. "We each want something." Su Zimo waved his hand and followed them into the formation. As one of the two great sacred sects in the southern region, the World Sovereign Empyrean sect had a history of tens of thousands of years. This colossal force located at the northern edge of the southern region was founded by the World Sovereign himself. He was already qualified to be called the World Empyrean, but due to habit, people still referred to him as World Sovereign. The term world essentially referred to a dimension or space. Legend says the World Sovereign Empyrean sect exists in an entirely separate realm, a dimension distinct from the eternal lands, residing in a different plane altogether. Chapter 653, Within Heaven World City. Tens of thousands of years ago, the World Sovereign was just a youth. Since childhood, he had been fascinated by the Tao of space, constantly studying and simulating it. If one could control time and space, then creating a dimension would be simple. He called this a world. Initially, the World Sovereign envisioned creating an entire world, but he quickly realized that constructing a true world was far beyond his capabilities. So, he instead conceived of creating a personal world, his own dimension. This world could be used to block attacks or trap enemies. If the world was strong enough, it could imprison someone for life until death. With this idea in mind, the World Sovereign dedicated his entire life to the study of worlds. It is said that at his peak, he could create millions of worlds with a mere wave of his hand, and no one could rival him. At the same cultivation level, breaking into his world was almost impossible. The World Sovereign rarely killed, but few dared to provoke him. One misstep, and they could end up trapped in his world for life. That kind of isolation was far more terrifying than death. After reaching Grand Empyrean, the World Sovereign realized his accomplishments had reached a ceiling and he might never break through further. So he passed down his teachings in the southern region, founding the World Sovereign Empyrean sect, hoping future generations would carry his legacy forward. Unfortunately, after tens of thousands of years, the strongest person in world cultivation remained the World Sovereign himself. In fact, in all those millennia, the sect had never produced another Grand Empyrean. Still, the World Sovereign Empyrean sect remained a colossal force standing tall in the southern region. There are rumors that the World Sovereign is still within the sect, having lost interest in worldly affairs and focusing solely on cultivating his worlds, choosing not to emerge again. Others say he became trapped within one of his own worlds while attempting to break through, never able to escape. The journey from Bright Flame City to Heaven World City was long. After half a month in the teleportation formation, the group finally arrived at Heaven World City. Stepping out of the teleportation array at noon, the bustling, vibrant city immediately lifted Su Zimo's mood. "Let's grab a bite first," Su Zimo said to the group. Though he no longer needed to eat, some basic enjoyment was still worth indulging in. They found a spacious inn and ordered a table full of dishes. "I divide the cultivation of the demonic body into 3 stages," Huangfu Xianyue said, looking at Su Zimo. "The first stage is to use demonic-type spirit herbs to begin tempering your body, so it gradually adapts." "But I don't have any demonic-type herbs," Su Zimo replied. "You have spirit stones, right? The Heaven Tower here in the city has almost everything we need." "I don't have spirit stones either. I've always been frugal," Su Zimo said, shaking his head. "Fine, I'll lend you mine. Just pay me back when you have some." Huangfu Xianyue waved it off. Su Zimo smiled and nodded. After their meal, they headed toward the Heaven Tower. Located at the very center of Heaven World City, the Heaven Tower was one of its most famous landmarks. Jointly operated by the World Sovereign Empyrean sect and the Xiong clan, it monopolized nearly 99% of all business in the city. The grand and elegant building stood prominently in the middle of the street, with a distinct aura that made it feel out of place compared to the rest. It wasn't exactly gold and glitter, but its intricately carved eaves and buildings radiated sophistication. At the entrance, 2 well-dressed women in red outfits greeted guests with warm smiles. "Well, how about it? Our Heaven World City can't be compared to your Bright Flame City, can it?" Huangfu Hao said proudly. "It's all right," Su Zimo said as he walked into the tower. Inside, the space was even more expansive. People came and went in waves, and countless transparent display cases were arranged all around. Each display had a dedicated staff member explaining its contents. As soon as Su Zimo entered, a well-presented young woman approached him. "Is there something the young master wishes to purchase?" she asked with a smile. "Some demonic-type spiritual herbs," Su Zimo replied. "Could you be more specific?" she asked. Huangfu Xianyue walked over from behind and handed her a piece of paper. "Just prepare everything listed here." The woman glanced over the list and smiled. "Please wait a moment." As she left, Huangfu Xianyue said to Su Zimo, "If there's anything else you want, look around. Once we get to the sect, chances to come down the mountain will be rare." Su Zimo nodded and wandered off with Jiyu. "Do you think I should ask her about divine bodies?" Jiyu asked Su Zimo. "You really think divine and demonic bodies can be acquired later in life?" Su Zimo shook his head. "Unless you find an innate battle body, don't waste your time. Anyone offering help definitely has their own agenda." The two wandered through the Heaven Tower, which had all sorts of things, but Su Zimo didn't really need anything at the moment. Just as they were about to leave, they noticed Huangfu Xianyue seemed to be in trouble near the entrance. A group of young men had surrounded her, all wearing blue robes. The leader's robe was a brighter shade of blue. He had a gray badge on his chest, and the hem of his robe was embroidered with white clouds. The young man appeared to be grabbing at Huangfu Xianyue. She looked displeased but was clearly restraining herself. "Should we help?" Jiyu asked. "No need. But her personality doesn't seem the timid type." "Interesting," Su Zimo replied with a smile. While the two were still pulling at each other, the young woman from earlier walked down from upstairs. She held a red tray with a spatial ring on it. "Young master, these are the herbs you requested. This ring is our gift to you," she said with a smile. "That will be 18 million spirit crystals. How would you like to pay?" Su Zimo noticed that as the tray was brought down, several guards discreetly fixed their eyes on him. "Hey, are you going to pay or not?" Su Zimo called out toward Huangfu Xianyue. The group immediately turned to look at him, each with a different expression. Huangfu Xianyue took a deep breath, composed herself, and slowly walked over. She pulled out a purple card. The woman's expression changed dramatically, and she quickly handed the spatial ring to Su Zimo. She no longer mentioned the spirit crystals and quietly retreated. "Xianyue, who is he?" The young man walked up and looked at Su Zimo with disgust. "It's none of your business. If you've got nothing else, I'm heading back to the sect," Huangfu Xianyue replied. Chapter 654 Eternal God Sect. "Xianyue, don't speak so harshly. I happen to be heading to the World Sovereign Empyrean sect as well. We can travel together," the young man said with a smile. "Why are you going to our sect?" Huangfu Xianyue frowned. "To discuss our wedding date with my future father-in-law," the young man said with a teasing grin. Huangfu Xianyue looked at him with disgust and then said to Su Zimo, "Let's go." "Hey, friend, what's your name?" The young man suddenly stepped forward, blocking Su Zimo's path with a smile. "Lin Qiu," Su Zimo said indifferently. "Nice to meet you." "Gong Yu, from the Eternal God Sect." The young man extended his hand with a smile. "Xianyue is my fiancée. You better remember that." "No need to get acquainted." Su Zimo ignored the handshake and walked past him directly. The surrounding blue-robed youths immediately drew their swords and slowly began to encircle them. "Gong Yu, Lin Qiu is my friend. What are you trying to do?" Huangfu Xianyue shouted. "Let them go." Gong Yu looked at his hand still hanging in midair and chuckled calmly. Watching Su Zimo and the others leave, a nearby youth walked up and asked, "Senior brother Yu, you're just going to let them go like that?" "No rush. No one I've set my eyes on has ever escaped," Gong Yu said with a grin. After leaving Heaven Tower, Huangfu Xianyue looked visibly upset. "Who was that Gong Yu?" Su Zimo asked with a smile. "Just an arrogant fool," Huangfu Xianyue replied. "He's my sister's fiancé," Huangfu Hao explained. "From the Eternal God Sect, huh? Not bad," Su Zimo said. As the strongest sect in the southern region, the Eternal God Sect had declined in power somewhat after their eternal godly monarch entered the immortal Dao Bridge. Still, with 3 known Grand Empyreans, the sect was above all other Empyrean sects. If he were the godchild of the Eternal God sect, I might accept it. But some spoiled rich kid being my future husband? Not happening, Huang Fuxianue said coldly. But father has already agreed to the marriage, Huang Fu Hao added. I'll handle it, Huang Fuxianue said. Let's head up the mountain. The World Sovereign Empyrean sect was located behind Heaven World City. After exiting the South City Gate and walking for about 2 miles, they arrived at a large mountain. The mountain was shrouded in a faint mist, grand and elegant, almost dreamlike. When the group reached the foot of the mountain, spatial ripples appeared, and 2 figures emerged from the void. Greetings, Holy Maiden. The 2 gatekeeping disciples greeted respectfully. Returning to the sect, Huang Fuxianue replied calmly. The 2 disciples each held a long halberd and drew them through the air. The space in front of them split open, revealing a portal of void. So the World Sovereign Empyrean sect is indeed within its own realm, Su Zimo muttered softly. As everyone stepped through the void portal, their bodies were gently swallowed by a spatial force. In the next moment, they arrived in a different world. Countless peaks stood proudly on the ground or floated in the air. Some were shrouded in mist, others filled with immortal pavilions and towers. Cranes soared through the skies. Disciples flew on swords. In the distant horizon, someone slashed through sun, moon, and stars with a single flying sword. Giant beasts inhaled and exhaled, triggering cosmic phenomena. All of this could be summed up by one word from Su Zimo: vast. I live on Goddess Mountain. You can pick a courtyard on my mountain to stay in. It'll also make it easier for me to temper your demonic body, Huang Fuxianue said. Sure, Su Zimo nodded. You 2 take him to settle in. I need to speak with father, Huang Fuxianue said to Huang Fu Hao. As Huang Fuxianue left, Huang Fu Hao smiled and said, Come with me. Su Zimo nodded. Compared to when they met at the Heaven Tower, Huang Fu Hao didn't seem like a rich brat at all. There was only one explanation: he was pretending before. Clearly, Huang Fuxianue was scheming something with him, though Su Zimo wasn't sure what yet. Still, since he came here to seek a method to fuse the blood lizard, this wasn't a bad outcome. Goddess Mountain was the traditional residence of the Holy Maidens of the World Sovereign Empyrean sect. It was located to the left of the main sect. The 3 arrived in front of Goddess Mountain, where the scenery differed from elsewhere. While most places were still lush and green, here it felt as though autumn had arrived early, with golden leaves carpeting the ground. A gentle autumn breeze blew, carrying a few falling leaves through the air. The ground glowed golden with fallen leaves, and the entire mountain radiated a sense of melancholy and solitude. Sunset and lone birds flew together. The autumn waters stretched to the distant skies. The mountain wasn't particularly tall but was beautifully graceful, as if it didn't belong to the same dimension as its surroundings. In front of the mountain stood a stone stele engraved with 3 large characters: the Goddess Mountain. Next to the characters was a carving of a graceful woman ascending into the heavens. Huang Fu Hao placed his hand on the stele, and a rift opened in the barrier surrounding the mountain. I'll help you choose a courtyard first, and then we'll get you registered. You'll officially be disciples of the World Sovereign Empyrean sect, Huang Fu Hao said. That easy? Jiu asked. Well, you're going through the back door. You'll understand the sect better over time, Huang Fu Hao replied with a chuckle. The group walked up the mountain along stone paths made of yellow granite strewn with fallen blossoms. The yellowing leaves still clung heavily to the trees, giving the peak a unique atmosphere. Halfway up the mountain there were a few elegant courtyards. Artificial hills and streams surrounded the yards, with ginkgo and maple trees planted around them. The ginkgo leaves emitted a faint fragrance. The courtyard on the left was where Huang Fuxianue lived. Su Zimo thought for a moment and chose the courtyard in the middle. That afternoon, Huang Fu Hao bustled about and brought back disciple tags and the official robes of the World Sovereign Empyrean sect. Brother Huang Fu, Su Zimo asked before he left, where do we practice sect techniques? You mean the One World Tower? Huang Fu Hao explained the route simply, then added, "But you need merit points. Without them, it's useless." After Huang Fu Hao left, Zhou Yu asked, "So what do we do now?" "I'm heading to the One World Tower to look around. You can wander around on your own. I probably won't need you this time." Su Zimo waved his hand. Later that afternoon, Huang Fu Xianyue returned and immediately came to visit Su Zimo's courtyard. "How does it feel, young Master Lin?" Huang Fu Xianyue asked. Chapter 655, Eternal God Sect. "Pretty good. I'm planning to leave the sect for a bit." Su Zimo nodded and said, "Leave the sect?" Huang Fu Xianyue frowned slightly and asked, "Why?" "I want to study some meridian techniques. Unfortunately, I don't have any merit points, so I was planning to take on a few missions to earn some," Su Zimo said. Huang Fu Xianyue pondered for a moment before finally saying, "No need. I can give you some of mine." "Wouldn't that be too much?" Su Zimo smiled. "You were planning on asking anyway, weren't you?" Huang Fu Xianyue glanced at him, then handed over a token. "There's plenty of merit points on this. Should be enough for what you need." Su Zimo accepted the token and nodded. "All right then, rest today. If possible, we'll start tempering your demonic body tomorrow," Huang Fu Xianyue said. "That fast?" Su Zimo looked a bit surprised. He felt like she was more eager than he was. "I've never done this before, so I want to test it on you," Huang Fu Xianyue replied. "Tomorrow then," Su Zimo agreed. "The sect is a complicated place. Lots of factions like ours. Just don't stir up trouble," Huang Fu Xianyue reminded him. After chatting for a bit longer, she left. Su Zimo then took her token and headed to the One World Tower. Descending from Goddess Peak, he found the sect was vast. Traveling on foot took time, so flying was allowed. When Su Zimo arrived at the One World Tower, he found the names of the buildings in the World Sovereign Empyrean sect quite amusing. One World Tower, Two World Tower, Three World Tower. Each referred to different things, meridian techniques, weapons, and pills respectively. The so-called One World Tower was like a world within a world. Inside the realm, another space was created, dedicated to storing meridian techniques. When Su Zimo presented the token, the gatekeeping disciple opened a spatial gate and let him in. The One World Tower had 3 levels. Upon entering the first floor, Su Zimo saw that most items were created through spatial realms. Even the meridian techniques were stored in cabinets made by the realm's power. A few scattered disciples were browsing the techniques, looking for something they liked. Su Zimo wasn't interested in those techniques. He was searching for information about the blood lizard fusion method, mainly through books on the sect's history. But he gained very little. After all, such a method wouldn't be stored on the first level. He thought for a moment and headed to the second level. 2 disciples blocked his way. "Please show your identity token." Su Zimo realized his own identity token wouldn't grant him access, so he took out Huang Fu Xianyue's token. "The Holy Maiden's token? Why is that with you?" one of the disciples muttered, but they still opened the entrance. Entering the second level, he found the space was smaller and the atmosphere quieter. The color scheme had shifted from white to blue. Su Zimo searched thoroughly but still found nothing. "This is a bit troublesome," he thought. Huang Fu Xianyue's token didn't grant access to the third level. Most likely, the blood lizard fusion method was either on the third level or stored separately. He'd need to find a way to make the sect reveal it, otherwise it would be very hard to find. Leaving the One World Tower, Su Zimo returned to his small courtyard. By now, the sky was darkening, but the world's sovereign Empyrean sect remained lively. Disciples cultivated by absorbing the power of moonlight, and giant beasts roamed the mountains. Under the clear moonlight, Su Zimo lay on a recliner, quietly watching the night sky. "Xiener said you arrived. I've been busy all afternoon but figured I should come see you," a voice suddenly called out. Su Zimo turned his head and saw Huang Fu Xian walking in from the entrance. "We're not exactly close. Red King, you're being too polite." Su Zimo sat up and smiled. "I had high hopes for you from the beginning. I may not know your reason for coming to the world's sovereign Empyrean sect, but you're welcome here." Huang Fu Xian smiled. I also hope you can become good friends with Siener. No need to worry, Red King. I have no intentions toward your daughter, and I won't interfere with her marriage either. Su Zimo shook his head slightly. They'd only met once before. Huang Fuxian wouldn't visit him for sentimental reasons. It had to be about the eternal god-sex relationship. I believe you, Huang Fuxian smiled. The truth is, some things are out of my control. As a father, who doesn't want their daughter to be happy? You don't need to explain, Red King. I'm just a passerby. Su Zimo waved his hand. Huang Fuxian nodded slightly before his figure disappeared into the night. The night passed quietly. Early the next morning, Huang Fuxianyue arrived at Su Zimo's courtyard. She had her maid bring a large vat and place it in the yard. When Su Zimo came out, he saw the vat was filled with green liquid. Thick but odorless. What is this? Su Zimo asked. He could feel rich energy inside it. Spirit energy solution. Get in, Huang Fuxianyue said. Su Zimo shook his head slightly but stepped into the vat, instantly enveloped in spirit force. Huang Fuxianyue then took out a small bottle filled with black liquid. This is what I refined from those demonic elemental spiritual herbs. It'll hurt at first. Bear with it, she said. When she poured the liquid in, the spirit force solution began to boil. It surged into Su Zimo's body. How do you feel? Huang Fuxianyue quickly asked. Su Zimo felt nothing. This level of energy was nothing to him. But to keep up appearances, he furrowed his brow and said, a bit painful and warm. Good. You'll need to absorb all of it. In 3 days, we can start the second phase, Huang Fuxianyue said. Su Zimo noticed that her gaze burned with intensity, like she was staring at a priceless treasure. Before leaving, she reminded him, rest well. I'll come back tomorrow. After she left, Su Zimo returned to his courtyard and sent his consciousness into the myriad beast realm of the god world. Looking at the various god beasts, he ultimately chose a crimson flame dragon. You'll do. I've got a task for you, Su Zimo instructed. The crimson dragon roared toward the sky and flicked its tail. Su Zimo used spatial power to teleport the dragon away. The noonday sun blazed in the sky over the world's sovereign Empyrean sect like a massive fireball. Chapter 656. The Crimson Dragon Attacks the Sect. For the disciples of the world's sovereign Empyrean sect, it was an ordinary day. The sun was bright and shining. Occasionally, a breeze would pass by, looping across the sky and returning again. Some disciples had stayed up all night cultivating and still felt refreshed. Others had finished breakfast and were preparing to take on missions. In short, for many it was just a normal day. Outside the world's sovereign Empyrean sect, 2 gatekeeping disciples were chatting and joking with each other. Suddenly, a dragon's roar echoed in their ears. The roar was deafening, piercing the heavens, and space itself rippled with waves. What was that? The disciple on the left asked in shock. What's making that noise? The disciple on the right was just as confused. Look over there. Look. The disciple on the left pointed toward the sky, stammering. The disciple on the right looked up and saw, far off on the horizon, a crimson dragon flying toward them. In an instant, the previously sunny weather turned gloomy. The sky darkened as black clouds gathered, and thunder and wind surged with a vengeance. A rolling thunder roared across the sky like the end of the world. Amidst silver lightning and booming thunder, a crimson dragon swam through the sky. It rode the clouds and mist, shifting weather with a flick of its claws, soaring high above the 9 heavens. Its overwhelming dragon aura crushed everything, shattering the space around it. Its roar echoed across 100 miles, centered on the world's sovereign Empyrean sect. Quick, go report this, the disciple on the left shouted. The crimson dragon flicked its tail, launching a ball of fiery red flame from its rear. With a boom, the sect's gate was instantly surrounded by a sea of fire. The crimson dragon roared furiously, stirring up dark clouds in the sky. It lashed its tail again, sending another fireball plummeting from the heavens. Just as the fireball was about to fall into the sect's world, a figure suddenly stepped into the sky. It was a man in a blue robe. With a wave of his right hand, a new world opened in front of him, swallowing the fireball. But as soon as the fireball entered the world, the man's expression changed. He took a single step and instantly moved several miles away, opening another world to exile the fireball. The fireball's power was too immense. His world couldn't contain it. He had to send it elsewhere to avoid it falling into the sect. The fireball exploded several kilometers away. The blue-robed man looked serious. He wore a blue robe, his gaze deep and stern, with a high-nosed bridge. His hair was tied in a topknot at the back of his head. A 3-foot blue sword hung at his waist, and a metal box was strapped to his back. The look was strikingly unique. I, Zhang Tianlin, sect master of the World Sovereign Empyrean sect, greet the senior. The man bowed slightly. Fortunately, no one else was around. Just hearing that name would shock everyone. Zhang Tianlin, sect master of the World Sovereign Empyrean sect, was one of the twin Grand Empyreans of the Heaven World, along with the sect master of the Nine Heavens Empyrean sect. Though neither had officially become saints, both were already half-Empyreans, one step into Grand Empyrean world, among the closest to becoming saints in the southern region. I don't know how our World Sovereign Empyrean sect offended you, senior. Please enlighten me, Zhang Tianlin said sincerely. The Crimson Dragon opened its gloomy eyes and glanced at him but said nothing. It simply whipped its tail down. Zhang Tianlin's half-saint aura surged. He tried to catch the dragon's tail using world power with both hands. But as soon as his hands touched the tail, his world power was burned away instantly. The dragon's body temperature exceeded tens of thousands of degrees. So hot! Zhang Tianlin's figure flickered away as he looked at his reddened palms. If senior won't even explain, then I have no choice but to offend you, he said. He slowly drew the sword from his back. As it unsheathed, an overwhelming sword aura filled the air. Wind Thunder World, Zhang Tianlin said in a low voice. A beam of sword light shot from his sword, transforming into a massive world that trapped the Crimson Dragon within. Inside the Wind Thunder World, the sword aura was sharp, and fierce winds carried thunder and lightning. Countless bolts of lightning fell upon the dragon. The dragon roared in fury, its 8 claws rising into the air, gathering thunder energy between them. This power was terrifying and awe-inspiring. Even the thunder from the Wind Thunder World was being absorbed bit by bit. When it formed into a sphere, the dragon grabbed it with all 8 claws and hurled it at Zhang Tianlin. With a boom, the Wind Thunder World was pierced. The lightning orb exploded in front of Zhang Tianlin. Earth World, he chanted again. Another world emerged in the path of the explosion. Within this pale yellow world, the power of the earth element condensed. As the explosion hit, the earth world barely absorbed the impact before shattering into pieces. Zhang Tianlin stood in place, leaning on his sword, panting heavily. Just one exchange had nearly exhausted him. This dragon god was at least Empyrean level. There were hardly any in the entire sect who could match it. At that moment, several figures flew out from the sect. Among them were the Red King Huang Fuxian, Huang Fuxianyue, 4 elders and a woman. 6 in total. They were the 6 kings of the World Sovereign Empyrean sect. Red King, World King, Marsh King, Azure King, Pine King, and Scholar King. Sect Master, what's going on? The woman, Azure King, asked with a frown. I don't know. Zhang Tianlin shook his head. Stop it. That thing's gone mad and is trying to attack the sect. Use the 6 god worlds. Red King squinted slightly and suggested. Otherwise, we don't stand a chance. Before anyone could respond, the Crimson Dragon roared again. Its dragon might surged, and half the sky behind it collapsed. Its glowing body radiated red light, and behind it appeared countless fireballs. With a roar, the fireballs rained down on the World Sovereign Empyrean sect. Stop it! Zhang Tianlin shouted, but it was already too late. After releasing the fireballs, the dragon vanished into the void. His presence disappeared without a trace. Everyone looked at each other, unsure of the dragon's true intent. The fireballs fell into the sect, piercing through the world's defenses and crashing into the grounds. Several buildings collapsed. Flames spread and burned slowly within the sect. Although some damage was done, compared to the threat the dragon itself posed, this was nothing. Chapter 657, Ancient Demon Corpse. What's the deal with that dragon? Red King frowned and asked. Why would it attack our sect for no reason? I don't know. I heard the dragon roar earlier and came out to take a look, Zhang Tianlin said calmly. Investigate it thoroughly. But where do we even start? Zhe King asked. Start by checking if anything related to the dragon race has happened recently in the southern region. Dragons have been extinct for so many years. For one to suddenly appear, it's definitely suspicious, Zhang Tianlin said. I won't be at ease until this is cleared up. All right, I'll take responsibility for this. World King nodded slightly. The sect sealed off all information about the dragon's roar, but every disciple in the world's sovereign Empyrean sect already knew something had happened. Though open discussion was forbidden, rumors spread quietly among the disciples. Lying leisurely in the garden pavilion, Su Zimo smiled knowingly when he heard the dragon's roar. Life in the world's sovereign Empyrean sect was relatively relaxed with few responsibilities. That afternoon, a few uninvited guests arrived at Goddess Mountain. Red King brought Gong Yu and some disciples from the Eternal God sect to visit Huangfu Xianyue. You young people talk amongst yourselves, I won't interfere, Red King said with a smile before leaving the peak. Xianer, I brought you a gift. Gong Yu smiled, taking out a vermilion box and said, a 10,000-year-old beauty flower. It can preserve your looks for 1,000 years. I don't need it, thank you, Huangfu Xianyue replied indifferently. Xianer, I don't get it. In terms of looks and background, Gong Yu, don't think I fall short of anyone, Gong Yu said, visibly displeased. Why do you reject me so strongly? Am I really that unworthy? You've said so much about others, but what about yourself? Aren't you just a useless good-for-nothing? Huangfu Xianyue retorted. Whether my father agrees or not, I will never marry you. Is that so? My father and Red King have already agreed. I came this time to finalize the engagement, Gong Yu said coldly. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink. Next month, the Eternal God sect will send someone to formally marry you. Huangfu Xianyue looked at Gong Yu coldly and said, and that pale, pretty boy living next to you? Do you want him dead? If you dare to harm him, I'll die with him, she said, her eyes glinting with murderous intent. Seems like that little white face really is important to you. But don't worry, I'll let him watch as you marry me. Gong Yu laughed loudly and left. Watching his retreating figure, Huangfu Xianyue's expression turned even darker. I'll let you live for now. Once I succeed, we'll see how you die, she muttered. She then ordered another large tub of spirit liquid to be sent to Su Zimo's courtyard and personally brought over the pre-prepared spirit medicines. Didn't you say once a day? Su Zimo asked curiously. It's fine. I was just worried you couldn't handle it earlier. If your body can take it now, twice a day is no problem, Huangfu Xianyue replied. Don't you want to gain the demon body as soon as possible? Su Zimo smiled, sat in the tub and said, I heard the dragon's roar today. Did something happen? No idea. With the higher-ups around, just mind your own business, Huangfu Xianyue said. Once the spirit liquid entered his body, Su Zimo absorbed it completely. But because the demonic energy was too weak, it couldn't affect his body at all. He still couldn't figure out what Huangfu Xianyue's true motive was. After watching him absorb the spirit liquid, she finally left. The night passed uneventfully. The next morning, Huangfu Xianyue returned again with another tub of spirit liquid. Let's begin the second phase tomorrow, she said. As they were chatting, another loud dragon roar suddenly echoed. It swept across the entire world's sovereign Empyrean sect. It's back again, Huangfu Xianyue said in shock, looking into the distance. Vaguely, a crimson dragon was flying through the sky. Zhang Tianlin and the 6 kings flew up to face it. I wonder what brings you here, senior? Zhang Tianlin asked curiously. But the crimson dragon gave no answer and continued its attack on the sect. Stop it! Zhang Tianlin said impatiently. Wind Thunder World, Earth World, Heaven Fire World, he called out, casting 3 realms simultaneously to trap the dragon. With a roar, the dragon swung its massive body and shattered all the realms instantly. Thunder and fire erupted from its body, spreading through the sect. The giant dragon dove from the sky, crashing directly into the sect grounds. A single sweep of its body toppled countless buildings. Stop it now. At this rate, the sect will be destroyed, Zhang Tianlin shouted. The crowd descended to stop the dragon, each radiating powerful auras. But the dragon's might was immense. With a flash of its body, it vanished once again into the void. No one could catch it. No one could defeat it. Everyone stood stunned in the ruins, unsure what to make of it. What exactly is this thing after? Red King frowned in thought. Have the place cleaned up, Zhang Tianlin said grimly. If this keeps up, the whole sect will be ruined. Come with me to the discussion hall, we need to talk. Su Zimo watched the whole thing like a show, while Huangfu Xianyue didn't seem to care. On the 3rd day, she brought a large box to Su Zimo's courtyard. She locked the gate and forbade anyone from entering Goddess Mountain. What's this second phase? Su Zimo asked curiously. Open the box, Huangfu Xianyue said with a mysterious smile. Su Zimo sensed a familiar demonic aura coming from the box. When he opened it, he saw a corpse. More accurately, it was a mummified corpse. The flesh had dried up, leaving only bones behind. The bones were pitch black, appearing extremely tough, with faint traces of demonic energy emanating from them. What is this? Su Zimo frowned slightly. A complete demon corpse. I found it by chance on the god-demon battlefield, Huangfu Xianyue explained. Although it's dead, its demon body still remains. You want me to fuse with its demon body? Su Zimo asked. Something like that. You're only missing the demon body to fully become a demon, she said. I'll process the demon body and apply it to your skin so that your body absorbs it. The energy will merge into your bones. I didn't know this was even possible, Su Zimo said with interest. All the spirit liquids you've been absorbing were to get your body ready. But I must say, your body is far stronger than I expected, Huangfu Xianyue said with satisfaction. Chapter 658, The Might of the Dragon. Demon corpse, Su Zimo murmured as he looked at the remains. Then, Huangfu Xianyue took out a small box, inside of which a ghostly white flame was burning intensely. This is the bone-burning fire, one of the flames controlled by the god race. It's specifically meant to counteract demon bodies, Huangfu Xianyue said. She opened the box, and the flame poured out like molten lava, thick and viscous, landing on the bones. The moment it touched the bones, they acted like fuel, making the flames burn even more fiercely. Crackling sounds echoed from the flame. It was a long process. The fire burned for about half a quarter of an hour before the corpse was completely incinerated. All that was left was a pool of thick, black liquid, sticky and foul-smelling. Huangfu Xianyue then pulled out a small bucket of spring water. Just the scent alone was refreshing and revitalizing. It was clearly no ordinary substance. She poured the spring water over the liquid. Hissing steam rose from it as the two substances reacted. The liquid began to slightly solidify and became less hot. You seem to have prepared everything pretty thoroughly, Su Zimo said with a smile. I've experimented before. Unfortunately, it's really hard to find remnants of the ancient demon race these days, Huangfu Xianyue replied. Take off your clothes. I'll apply it to you. All of them? Su Zimo asked. No, just your upper clothes. She quickly shook her head. Once Su Zimo removed his shirt, Huangfu Xianyue began applying the slightly solidified liquid to his back bit by bit, spreading it evenly across his skin. This method of transforming the skeletal system is painful, so bear with it, she warned. Su Zimo nodded slightly. He only felt a warm current, like spring water, flowing into his body, attempting to change it. But his demon body was so powerful that this little bit of energy didn't even cause a ripple before it was completely absorbed. Once all the liquid was absorbed, Huang Fu Xianyue gently touched his back and said with satisfaction, "Your body is the best I've ever seen." Su Zimo put his shirt back on and asked, "What about the third phase?" "Don't rush. I'll tell you tomorrow," Huang Fu Xianyue said with a smile before leaving, satisfied. The next morning, while the sky was still dim and the night hadn't fully faded, a dragon's roar rang out from afar again. The crimson dragon surged through the void, its massive body roaring above the world's sovereign Empyrean sect. 6 god worlds! A furious shout rang out from below the sect. Everyone was already prepared. 6 figures emerged from the void. It was the 6 kings of the world's sovereign Empyrean sect. The powerful aura of peak fusion heaven surged around them. From each of their palms, a different type of spiritual energy burst forth. The 6 god worlds formed a massive net, trapping the crimson dragon inside. Like a 6-pointed star array, the continuous influx of energy made the realm barrier stronger and stronger. "We've been waiting for you," Zhang Tianlin said coldly from the side. "This Empyrean sect is not a place where you come and go as you please." The crimson dragon slammed against the world barriers over and over, rumbling sounds echoing everywhere. Cracking noises started to emerge. Tiny fractures appeared within the 6 god worlds. "It's cracking already?" World King cried out in shock. He shouted at Zhang Tianlin, "Sect Master, prepare yourself. We can't hold on much longer." Zhang Tianlin nodded solemnly. He reached for the iron box behind him. The box looked ancient, rusty on the outside, just like an ordinary container. As Zhang Tianlin slowly opened it, a beam of light shot into the sky, piercing the still dark night and ripping through the thick clouds. The light of dawn descended. A small, cube-shaped realm rose into the air, resembling a magical cube. "Glazed God World," Zhang Tianlin whispered. He held the realm in his hand, his expression devout and solemn. All of his spiritual energy surged into it, and the realm began to glow with a gentle light. Zhang Tianlin slowly released the cube, which rose into the sky. As it ascended, it grew larger and larger until it covered nearly half the sky. "Glazed God World Seal," Zhang Tianlin shouted as he formed hand seals. With a booming sound, just as the crimson dragon shattered the 6 god worlds, the glazed god world descended and enveloped it. The glazed god world radiated a soft but radiant light, not harsh but unyielding. The crimson dragon observed it carefully. No matter how fiercely it slammed into it or how much lightning and fire it unleashed, the glazed god world remained solid and immovable. The people of the world's sovereign Empyrean sect finally sighed in relief. Wiping sweat from his brow, Zhang Tianlin said, "Good thing our ancestor left behind the glazed god world. Otherwise, I don't know what we'd have done today." "But what now?" "We've trapped the dragon, but we can't kill it," Red King said, frowning. "We still don't know why it attacked our sect," Zhang Tianlin thought aloud. "It's furious right now, so negotiation is impossible. Let's wait a few days and then ask. Compared to freedom, I don't believe it won't give in." Everyone nodded, ready to head to the council hall to discuss the next steps. On Goddess Peak, Su Zimo looked into the distance at the crimson dragon trapped within the realm and shook his head. This world's sovereign Empyrean sect has some tricks up its sleeve. No wonder few dared to provoke them in the past. He stretched out his right hand, opening a portal to the god world. A massive ice-blue dragon flew out from it. "Go have some fun with your brother," Su Zimo smiled calmly. Above the world's sovereign Empyrean sect, the people who had just trapped the crimson dragon were in the middle of their discussion. Suddenly, another dragon's roar rang out from the distance. Thunderous explosions echoed through the air. One roar after another grew louder and more powerful. The dragon roars dispersed the fog across the sky. Everyone looked eastward. The first light of dawn, soft and pale, cast a faint glow. Bathed in that light, a dreamlike, ice-blue dragon raced toward them. That's... Everyone stood frozen, pupils dilated. Like a torrential river of ice, a freezing breath erupted from its mouth. Cracking sounds filled the air. Snowflakes began to fall from the sky, drifting down gently. "Get out of the way!" Zhang Tianlin shouted as the river of frost surged toward them. Chapter 659 Best Actor. Boom! A thunderous explosion shook heaven and earth. "Why is there another one?" Pine King stammered. "Could it be its mate?" Red King speculated. The ice dragon roared, its dragon might spreading far and wide, causing all of heaven and earth to fall into silence. Other surrounding beasts bowed down in submission before the two dragon gods. "Sect Master, what do we do?" World King asked. "How would I know?" Zhang Tianlin replied grimly. "What about the ancestor?" Green King cautiously asked. "Don't ask what you shouldn't. Even if the world's sovereign Empyrean sect is destroyed, the ancestor won't appear." Zhang Tianlin's gaze turned cold as he replied flatly. "Yes, yes." Green King nodded quickly. Though the six kings held great power within the sect, it was all under established rules, and they constantly vied with each other. But when it came to matters concerning the sect's core interests or major events, they held no authority to decide. Zhang Tianlin's prestige was unparalleled, and only he knew the secrets surrounding the world's sovereign. "Senior God Dragon, we did not intend to imprison your companion." Zhang Tianlin stepped forward, speaking respectfully and sincerely. "It destroyed our sacred sect wantonly, and we don't know the reason. If our sect has offended you, I am willing to apologize and offer compensation." But the ice dragon did not respond. Instead, its entire body released layers of 10,000-foot ice, freezing the heavens as it attacked the glazed god world. "Sect Master, should we try to stop it?" Red King asked. "I'd like to. But with what?" Zhang Tianlin replied bitterly. "This dragon god has clearly reached the level of a grand Empyrean. Even for the Eternal God sect, it would be a major threat. Although the glazed god world was powerful, it was a world condensed by the world's sovereign himself. Without his personal control, its power was greatly diminished. Under the joint assault from both dragons inside and out, the world began to crack. Not even a stick of incense's time passed before, boom, it completely shattered. In the spot where the glazed god world exploded, the crimson fire dragon hovered midair. Its intensely oppressive eyes were filled with fury. Centered on the dragon, space itself ignited, burning into nothingness. Boundless flames spread rapidly. From within the sect, imperial sons of the world sovereign Empyrean sect looked up to the distant horizon. The pale dawn light was fading. Even the morning sun seemed blocked out. Two dragon gods, one of ice, one of fire, split the sky in half. Ice and flame occupied their respective domains, casting the world into a surreal scene. The dragons roared, frost and fire raging. They intertwined and dove straight down toward the world's sovereign Empyrean sect. "Sect Master, should we intercept them?" Green King asked from the side. "Intercept. Even if it kills us, we must stop them," Zhang Tianlin ordered. The six of them soared into the air in pursuit. At the same time, countless elders and guardians of the sect joined the battle. Disciples were evacuated or hidden for safety. The two dragons charged forward, soon arriving at God Maiden Peak. Facing the mountain, they exhaled fire and frost. Their long, powerful tails whipped down. "Siener!" Red King roared in despair as the fire and ice engulfed the mountain. Atop the peak, Huangfu Shenua's eyes were grave. There was no time to dodge. The energy was about to engulf the entire mountain. As the attack burst forth before her, she felt death looming, cold and oppressive. She wanted to run, wanted to scream, but her legs felt like lead, and she could barely breathe under the pressure. "Watch out!" A sudden shout came from the side. Su Zimo stepped forward, holding a red pearl, shielding Huangfu Xianyue. "You!" Huangfu Xianyue looked at Su Zimo in shock. As the energy clashed before them, the red pearl in Su Zimo's hand emitted a radiant light. That light blocked the combined power of fire and ice. Then, a beam of red light shot from the pearl, striking the two dragons above. Boom! Half the sky exploded. A dragon roar followed. It was a cry of agony. The two dragon gods seemed seriously injured. With one final roar, they vanished into the void as if fleeing from something terrifying. The red pearl shattered with a crack, disintegrating in mid-air. Su Zimo collapsed to the ground, gravely injured and barely conscious. What was that just now? Huangfu Xianyue snapped out of her shock and quickly checked Su Zimo's condition. He had already passed out. Before she could react further, Zhang Tianlin and the Six Kings, along with a large group of elders, arrived. Xiener, what was that red light? Red King asked urgently. I don't know. It came from a red pearl he had, Huangfu Xianyue said, pointing to the unconscious Su Zimo. The pearl? Zhang Tianlin asked anxiously. It shattered just now, she replied while checking Su Zimo's injuries. Luckily, it's not serious, just surface wounds. Then wake him up and ask him about the pearl, Zhang Tianlin said. He knelt down and used his spirit force to heal Su Zimo. Soon, Su Zimo slowly regained consciousness. You're awake, Huangfu Xianyue said with mixed emotions. Su Zimo nodded slightly. Can I ask you something? Zhang Tianlin said from the side. He didn't waste time. The matter concerned the sect's very survival. I know what the sect master wants to ask. Those two dragon gods, right? Su Zimo replied. If it's convenient, please tell us. Zhang Tianlin nodded, looking at him expectantly. If that ice dragon hadn't shown up, I almost forgot about it, Su Zimo recalled. I read about it in a secret history once. It said that in our southern region, there was a place where two dragon gods were once sealed. Both dragons had reached the Grand Empyrean realm and wreaked havoc in the past. They were eventually sealed away by the world sovereign using a world domain. Our ancestor? Zhang Tianlin was stunned. No wonder they came to take revenge on our world sovereign Empyrean sect. Chapter 660 Blood Lizard Fusion. Yes, if Lord World Sovereign were still around, you could ask him, Su Zimo said. Our ancestor is no longer here. Zhang Tianlin fell silent for a moment before finally replying. If the World Sovereign had still been present, he wouldn't have stood by during the sect's life and death crisis. Zhang Tianlin understood the ancestor's difficulties and didn't wish to speak further. Continue, he said, looking at Su Zimo. What was that red orb you used? That wasn't a red orb, it was the heart of a blood lizard, Su Zimo replied. I also read about it in an old book. Back then, the blood lizard's heart was sealed away. I didn't expect it to be useful now. The heart of a blood lizard? Zhang Tianlin exclaimed, puzzled. When did blood lizards become this powerful? I'm not exactly sure either. Su Zimo took a deep breath and said weakly. The book only mentioned that the two forces counteract each other. That's why dragon gods fear blood lizards. Hearing this, Zhang Tianlin and the Six Kings fell into deep thought and didn't speak for a long while. Where's the book you read that from? Asked Red King. It was something I read many years ago. I've long forgotten where I put it. Aside from mentioning the dragon gods, there wasn't much else of value. Su Zimo shook his head and replied. Sect Master. Red King glanced at Zhang Tianlin and didn't say more. I understand. Go rest for now. If there's anything else, we'll come to you, Zhang Tianlin said, looking at Su Zimo. Su Zimo nodded slightly and, with Huangfu Xianyue's help, returned to his courtyard. Although the dragon god's attack had nearly destroyed the mountain, part of the courtyard still remained. Why did you save me earlier? Huangfu Xianyue looked at Su Zimo with a complicated expression and asked. It's nothing really. You helped me form the demonic body, and I hadn't had the chance to thank you yet, Su Zimo replied with a warm smile. Actually, Huangfu Xianyue hesitated, then paused in silence before finally saying, You're just unlucky. What do you mean? Su Zimo asked, confused. Nothing. Get some rest. If you need anything, just call me, Huangfu Xianyue said. Su Zimo returned to his room. Jiu helped him into the house and said quietly, I'm really getting more and more unable to see through you. Everything I do has a purpose. But the water here in the World Sovereign Empyrean sect runs deep. Su Zimo said with a smile. What do you plan to do next? Jiu asked. Sleep. Then wait for someone from World Sovereign Empyrean Sect to come ask for my help, Su Zimo said with a grin, lying back on the bed. At that moment, inside the World Sovereign Empyrean Sect's council hall, Zhang Tianlin sat at the head of the table. The 6 kings sat on either side. The other elders weren't even qualified to attend. What do you all think about what Lin Qiu said? Zhang Tianlin asked. The atmosphere was heavy. After a long silence, Red King stood up and said, We can't fully believe it, but we also can't ignore it. I think no matter what, we have to at least give it a try, Zhe King said from the side. But what about the blood lizard fusion method? Asked Blue King. I can take care of that, Zhang Tianlin replied thoughtfully. But can Lin Qiu be trusted? Do we have any better options? Red King said. This time we hurt those 2 dragon gods. If they come back for revenge, and we no longer have the blood lizard's heart, how do we deal with that? Do you even know where to find a blood lizard? Zhang Tianlin asked. The Misty Forest is infamous for being dangerous. The Swamp Forest is even worse. It's a forbidden area none of us dare touch. If we want to fuse with a blood lizard, who's going? As Zhang Tianlin's voice fell, the hall went silent. How about we let Lin Qiu go? He seems to know more than anyone, Pine King suggested. We'll assign a few disciples to go with him. I doubt he can cause any real trouble. Who do we send? Zhang Tianlin asked again. I heard Lin Qiu was brought into the sect by Red King's daughter. Why not let her go too? The World King said from the side. But Xianyue is already engaged to Gong Yu of the Eternal God sect. Wouldn't this be inappropriate? Red King looked at World King and said coolly, Why only my daughter? That doesn't seem very fair. How about this? Zhang Tianlin proposed. Each of the 6 kings sends 1 disciple to follow Lin Qiu to the Misty Forest. Agreed. The 6 kings were silent for a moment. Marsh King then stood and said, I'll send my senior disciple. Seeing Marsh King speak, the other 5 kings also stood and named their respective disciples. Then it's settled, Zhang Tianlin said, waving his hand. Tomorrow I'll go request the fusion method. You're all dismissed. Leave me to think alone. After the 6 kings left, Zhang Tianlin stood slowly and exited the council hall. Seeing no one around, he entered his residence. He twisted a vase inside the room, and the wall began to shift, revealing a square recess. Zhang Tianlin took out a square jade token from his storage ring and inserted it into the recess. With a loud boom, the surrounding space exploded. Dust burst forth. The stars seemed to spin, and the scenery began to shift. Before long, Zhang Tianlin found himself in a starry expanse. The Milky Way poured down from the heavens, countless stars twinkled, and the sky kept shifting. Zhang Tianlin raised his right hand and pointed lightly, and a star appeared. As he moved his hand faster, more stars followed, forming 3 glowing characters in the sky. Blood lizard. Zhang Tianlin knelt on the ground, looking forward with reverence. As the characters faded, the sky seemed to freeze. Ripples stirred in front of him, and from the waves, a weathered, ancient book dropped down. Zhang Tianlin picked it up and saw the worn cover bore 4 large characters. Blood Lizard Fusion Method. Ancestor bless me, Ancestor bless me. He let out a breath of relief, patting his chest with gratitude. In the next moment, he vanished into the void and reappeared in his room. He carefully stowed away the energy stone. He then began flipping through the fusion manual. It was far too valuable to hand over the original. He planned to copy it first, then give the copy to the group heading out. The night passed without incident. The next morning, Zhang Tianlin brought the 6 kings to the Goddess Peak. Sir, someone's looking for you. Jiu woke the sleeping Su Zimo and said, Is it the sect master of World Sovereign Empyrean Sect? Su Zimo asked.